Do you truly, in your heart of hearts, truly believe that this is a human being? This,
Without a doubt.
without a doubt,
Yes.
this is a dolphin fetus.
So let me.
Without a doubt, a dolphin fetus is a human being. This is a human fetus. Look how similar they are. But quite different. Dolphin. You just confirmed that a dolphin, in life, you confuse dolphins for human babies often.
So let me.
You
ask
go to
you a
SeaWorld
question.
and you're like, someone's got human babies in that aquarium.
Good morning, my beauties and bees. Welcome to another installment of Hive Sci, or Live from the Hive, I guess. It's not the channel's Hive Sci. I've been doing this for like almost 5 years now. I shouldn't be making those kind of simple mistakes. From the top, good morning, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Live from the Hive. We are coming at you on March 8th, and it's currently 8:36 a.m. So, good morning. Still talking about trans mice out there, are we? Yeah, we covered that on transpositions on Thursday. So if you didn't catch that, maybe somebody can drop a link. One of my mods, maybe, to drop a link for Transpositions Thursday show, because we revisited the transgender mice. We really did. But I digress. That's a different topic for a different show, because here on Live from the Hive we do, and I guess that's science, but we do like to debunk bad science. And that was bad science on Trump's part, but I digress. We run polls here to see what topics we're going to cover, and this week, where the heck is everybody this morning? Usually I have about 20 people in here by this time. Good morning, everybody. Maybe people just aren't that interested in the topics today, but it's what the people voted for. So you get what you vote for. I didn't pick it. You did. If you don't like the topics that we cover, you can be on the group. One of the group of people who decides. All you got to do is participate in the polls. Let me see here. I just want to show you guys here. We're going to show you how I do the polls and how things are. So for a long time, today's poll, like for most of the week, I was ready to do the Silmarillion, the jewels, right? Because here, we'll pull this up. Give me just a second. We'll just do it in CrypticCorner's background. That's fine. But we need to pull this out. There you go. Okay, done. All right, so we do these polls every week, right? Yeah, that happens. Is he still arguing with the messenger guy? People get to arguing. Nobody wants to leave. Everybody's like, I want to see how this what unfolds here. Yes, we are talking about the telepathy tapes later on in the show. This is the poll for the weirdness for the week. This was in the lead for most of the week until like Thursday night. This was in the lead, the accursed jewels, because we got like there's a list of them. I found a couple playlists that we're going to go through about different jewelry throughout history that's been allegedly accursed, has, all this legend and lore tied to it. But the other topics we have on here, we got the Knights of Tartaria, and they're kind of like like before this is Tartaria, so before the reset, before the 1776 reset, these guys were like Iron Man of Tartaria with their advanced armor and weapons and stuff. These knights. Some of them were, I think, famous people and stuff. So yeah, if you want to vote for that. And then we got the Riddle of the Sphinx, which is what we're covering there is going to be that the Sphinx is like 18,000 years old or whatever, and Green Sahara evidence and all that. But that's for another show, which we will get into. But today, we actually, what won for the weirdness for the week was the Telepathy tapes, which is a new podcast. I did not pay to watch the podcast. I've watched reviews of the podcast. I've watched reviews from all angles of the podcast and come up with what I think is a good solution for how to approach it. So that's what won there. Now, for Cryptic Corner, which is coming up right after this little preamble here, and like just in 4 minutes, honestly, we're about to start it. What we have on the menu, though, is the Trinity Alps giant salamander, which is a giant salamander that's allegedly on par with or even larger than the Chinese salamander and the Japanese salamanders. They're the biggest ones. They get like like up to 6 foot long, but there's nothing like that in the Western world. But allegedly, in the Trinity Alps of California, there dwells one. It's very, very similar in size. And then the other topics we have on the poll was the mini hoonie, which is a sort of it's like little Bigfoot, because Hawaii doesn't have enough room for a big Bigfoot, so they got a tiny one. But to make up for its size difference, it's mischievous like a fairy too. So that's pretty cool. And then we had the water horse, which also was one that I thought was going to win for most of the week, but this one the tables turned pretty early on this one. But the water horse, mainly we're going to talk about the Kelpie, but there's other water horses that serve a similar function in mythology that we're going to talk about too, and in folklore. We're going to talk about modern sightings and modern encounters too, at least one. So keep that in mind when we get to the water horse. But what won this week was the Redcap, which is a little fairy goblin guy, but it's not benevolent like when you think of the word fairy. I guess when normies think of the word fairies, people who spent a long time in the occult think differently when they think of fairies. They're a little bit more. For some reason, I got Kelpie and Sylph confused. Umami says, Well, the Redcap is more goblin-like, I guess. It's more mischievous. Or not even mischievous, murderous. Murderous is the way to go. It's a murderous creature. But it won, sort of in a landslide, 47% of the vote, more than half the people who voted on this poll. And you can vote. This poll had a low turnout. I don't know if YouTube just doesn't notify people about my polls. Usually they're about 20 or so, which gives me a good rounded number of people to put their input in. Well, I can scroll down and show you previous polls. Yeah. Yeah, 18 people, 21 people. But this one had a lower turnout. So you could have swayed this poll with your vote if you wanted to see something different this week. And there will be, these other 3 will still be on the menu, the ones we just talked about, right? And a new item will be on the menu. And you, on the poll, right, after you vote, you go in here and you just click on the comment thing, and you're going to leave a comment saying what you want to be added to the poll. Whether it's we've had some different suggestions, but whether it's Wendigo or the Kelpie. The Kelpie got put on there because Aunt Jer voted for it. Aunt Jer was like, "Hey, I need a Wendigo." Or no, I need a Kelpie. Someone else said they needed a Wendigo on last week's poll. So that might be on there. If nobody votes for anything else, Wendigo will be on the poll. But if something else pushes it off, we'll move it down. And the same thing's going to go for these polls, right? Since Telepathy Tape's going to be off the menu, we're still going to have these 3 on there. And then you are going to, and we'll have an extra one added on there. And then you are going to be able to come in here and vote and then comment on what you would like to see added to the poll as far as topics to cover in this weirdness. Now, the difference between the Cryptic Corner poll and the weird poll is generally the Cryptic Corner, we focus on entities, I guess is the best way to put it, for the most part. Which might be a cryptid, a ghost, cryptids, ghosts, aliens, demons, fairies, angels. Yeah, we did the Joplin butterfly people recently, which was kind of like angels. But time travelers, things like that. We that's where we focus. And then with the weirdness topic, it's usually someone producing. It's usually a channel creating content with pushing a conspiracy narrative that we focus on. So that's the difference between those two types of topics. So the Cryptic Corner is more about the entity itself, whereas the weird with it, the weirdness is more about the people producing it, which you'll see. Maybe I should add that onto the poll, but I like to keep it a surprise who we cover, because I don't like someone to come out here and look at the poll and say, oh, Knights of Tartaria by so-and-so, and then go watch that video instead of coming and spending Saturday morning with me doing it. So that's why I don't put the channel on here, but maybe I should. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to go back out here because it is we're overdue for Cryptic Corner, actually, and Cryptic Corner's a spooky one this week, and it's good because it's March and we got a fairy creature, so how convenient. I will see you guys over there. Cryptic Corner coming at ya. Hello, and welcome, my beauties and bees, to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore entities of the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee. And we are here live Saturday morning. If you want to join us, we're here every Saturday morning on Live from the Hive, where our opening segment is Cryptic Corner. So if you want to take part in exploring the world of cryptids, ghosts, aliens, and more, come on over and hang out. And you can be part of this this funky, fresh side chat scrolling by over here, talking about all kinds of fun stuff. And speaking of fun stuff, today we got some fun stuff because it is, right now it's March, a week before St. Patrick's Day. Is actually 2 weeks still. We're still 2 weeks off. It's the 8th. St. Patrick's Day is the 17th, but we actually did get a fairy episode. So lo and behold, people have voted, and we are going to be talking about the Redcap. Now, when it comes to Redcap folklore, there's a primary entity, but he has a couple different names, and we'll discuss that as the show goes on. But as you all know, I don't like to discuss this stuff solo, so I always like to find a channel, especially a channel with a believer, someone who's presenting the case as something that was real and actually existed. even if the person's not, the person behind the channel is not really taking that position, even if they're just telling the story as if it's real, that's the main protocol. I need something I can snark at, because that's a little bit of what I do. Is I snark at the paranormal explanations that people come up with. So if you like that, then come back. That's what we do here. But I do have a extensive background doing paranormal investigations. Throughout my my late teens and early 20s, actually, did a lot of paranormal investigations, and even hyper focused on a few locations over a long period of time to do research and study on phenomena that happened there, and come up with my my own theories over the years since. But it does. Redcap, is that a MAGA cryptid? Oh my gosh, yes. How convenient. I should use that as the thumbnail. People will click on that. Make a Trump-looking Redcap. Anyway, but I digress. Yeah, this is unfortunately these are not, or say maybe fortunately, there's not American Redcaps, but Scottish Redcaps. But we're having the White Light tell us about them. The White Light. Let's see. We aren't monetized, so consider leaving our team a small tip to support the channel's growth. Thank you. Stories that take you to the brink. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, you're not going to be monetized. 280 subscribers, of course not. But, oh, I didn't mean to do that. We don't need to watch your Loch Ness video. I've covered Loch Ness, but they have. I was meaning to click here. They have videos on a lot of conspiracies. They've only been around for a few months now, but they got videos on conspiracies and horrors and history, all sorts of stuff. But today we're watching the legend of the evil Scottish Lord and his red-capped goblin. So let's jump in.
Deep in the heart of the borderlands between Scotland and England, among the ruins of ancient castles and...
Audio looks all right. I'm peeking a bit, aren't I? Let's bring me down a little bit. And we'll see if that...
forgotten fortresses.
Yeah, there
there
we
lurk
go.
Creatures of terrifying legend. Known as Redcaps, these malevolent goblins are not just tricksters, but bloodthirsty hunters who have haunted folklore for centuries. Stories of these sinister beings have been passed down through generations, painting a picture of a dark and dangerous presence tied to this historically violent region. The borderlands have long been a place of conflict, with countless battles fought over its rugged terrain. These lands were home to not only armies and raiders, but...
Yay, it's a spoopy day. It is a spoopy day. Miss Non Sequitur. There's everybody. I was wondering where everybody was this morning. Y'all missed my morning spiel. Only a handful of people got to listen to me ramble about I started a new job and stuff, so I'll talk about it at the end maybe if I'm feeling peppy enough. Right now I'm sort of tired. Good morning, Simply Secular Dave. Everybody's popping in now. It's good to see y'all. Is Chris wrapping up? Is that what we're doing? Is Mr. Mallard going to grace us with his presence this morning? I was over there while I was doing my makeup before the show. Shoot, I only just arrived and now I have to go. I saved this for later. Thank you for doing this, Hive. So, yeah.
but something far more sinister. Redcaps are said to inhabit the decaying remnants of castles, waiting for unsuspecting travelers who seek shelter within their crumbling walls. Before we continue, consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel.
You know
If
what?
you're new here on YouTube,
For creating content for me, no matter how I feel about the video, again, I'm giving you a thumbs up, and I might leave a comment. So, yeah, hit me.
but we'll be bringing you many more stories like this in the future. Thank you.
Good.
So, what exactly are redcaps? These creatures are described as a particularly fearsome type of goblin found in the folklore.
I looked for a red hat. I don't have one. You know, for obvious reasons, being in the U.S., I don't have any hats that are red. I used to when I was younger. I'd wear this really cute, it was Marlboro cigarettes hat, but it was sentimental because it was the one my dad wore when he hitchhiked to Phoenix, Arizona. And but I'd wear it backwards, and it looked so cute. I wish I still had it. I don't know whatever happened to it.
Of northern England.
That's the closest thing I've ever had to a real redcap. Mallard's feeding his wife. I think that the wife, as she's known, would enjoy learning about redcaps over her meal.
England and southern Scotland. Unlike many other goblins or trickster spirits, redcaps are not mischievous. No, they are murderous. They take their name from their most horrifying trait, the blood-soaked cap they wear on their heads. Legends say these caps are stained with the blood of their victims, and if the blood were to dry, the red cap would perish. Physically, red caps are said to be small in stature.
A mushroom hat would have been perfect for this too. I think I have a picture of me wearing a mushroom hat somewhere in my photos.
Resembling stout, elderly men. But don't let their size fool you. They are far from harmless. With fiery red eyes, sharp teeth, and long claw-like fingers, they...
What is this? Like, none of this looks like a red cap to me. This is AI stuff, and a lot of these channels use AI. I'm not not AI shaming. It's like, to me, with the AI stuff, it sucks for being an artist, and you know, I've tried art. I've been a musician. You all know that. I still play, but I can't play as good as an AI robot. I know that. But it doesn't mean I think that AI music doesn't have a place in the world, because technology is going to advance. We have that going on. But this doesn't look like a red cap to me. It looks like, what would you say this is? Like a Nimrigan, or Nimrigan, I can't remember how it's pronounced. The North American wild men. Like remember we talked about this... Somebody dropped the link for this one too. The San Pedro mountain mummy. It looks like that species, right? Especially with these eyes. I love the eyes on this thing. But when I think of red cap, I guess I think of red eyes, or maybe like since it's Scottish, like blue eyes, because Scottish people tend to have blue eyes. Like our friend Stephanie, she has Scottish ancestry and the bluest eyes.
Strike fear into anyone unlucky enough to cross their path. They move quickly, despite the heavy iron boots they wear, which adds to their terrifying ability to chase down prey. These goblins are known to haunt the ruins of castles, especially those with a history of violence or...
You prefer Yoshi? I prefer Birdo. Birdo's my go-to for Mario characters. Optimally, we'd have Peach riding Birdo, like Mario rides Yoshi. That's just my preferences, though. Tree guy was hot. Birdie B, hello, my friend. We did a fundraiser, by the way. Can you let me give you... can't believe you don't have a wrench. Let me give you a wrench. Will you drop the link to Kat's fundraiser? I'm making you a managing mod just so you can do that. Please, our friend Kat just, they did get a place, which is great. But we did a fundraiser trying to help them get kind of settled. So any little bit helped. Yes, Birdo is my go-to. Absolutely. Luigi is everyone's favorite for some reason. Yeah, that's a more recent development though. Luigi was in the Shadow Player 2, as the case may be. That was his legacy until recently. Yeah, I would, I can be Birdo and then let Luigi ride me. Then get a Yoshi hat or get a Yoshi rider costume.
Tyranny. Travelers who seek shelter in these forgotten fortresses are the Redcap.
I did wear a red top. I did. So I got that. Got my like Vampirella top too. I always think that this one looks like, when I look at it just from the tits up, I look like I'm wearing Vampirella's suit to me. I don't know. Without the white collar, I guess.
Perfect targets. Armed with iron pikes or scythes, these creatures attack swiftly, leaving little chance for escape. The stone walls of these ancient ruins serve not as protection, but as the very lairs where redcaps await their next victim. The tales often describe how these goblins...
That one's huge. He's been eating good. Where's that castle? Must have a lot of wayward travelers.
...ambush unsuspecting travelers, using their immense strength to hurl heavy stones from high walls, or running their victims through with iron pikes. Once their prey is slain, the redcaps would soak their caps in fresh blood to ensure they never dry out. The drying of the blood, it is said...
Ooh, that one looks like it sampled maybe Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, but it really doesn't look like blood as much as ketchup on the hat, but I digress.
...would mean their own death. These stories reflect the violent history of the region, where wars, raids, and feuds were common.
Still a
For those
week
traveling
behind
through the
there.
area, the Redcap legend acted as both a supernatural warning and a cautionary tale, urging them to stay away from lonely, abandoned places where danger of both man and goblin might be lurking. While redcaps are fearsome and deadly, folklore offers a few ways to defend yourself if you ever find yourself face to face with one. These goblins, though fast and powerful, can be driven away by the power of faith. The most common defense is to recite passages from the Bible. Even a single verse can send a redcap fleeing in...
I caught him up. I know lots of verses from the Bible, though. What's that redcap going to do when I start talking about his emissions, though? What if I start talking about Lot's daughter seducing him in a cave? Is the redcap just going to get uncomfortable and leave?
Fear. Alternatively, holding up a cross or crucifix is said to be equally effective for...
This is Catholic propaganda from the Middle Ages. For the same reason vampires are repelled by crosses. It's church propaganda. But yeah, I guess I should say, it should specify that redcaps were I guess what would you call it? Is it still Roman Catholic after the fall of Rome in the UK? I think it is, yeah. And then Eastern Orthodox for vampires. But it's all the same stuff. It's like depend on the church to protect you from everything that scares you in the dark.
Forcing the creature to retreat. If you're successful in warding one off, the redcap doesn't simply vanish. According to legend, it disappears with a furious scream, often in a burst of flames. All that remains afterward is a single, large tooth, left behind as a grim reminder of how close you came to meeting your end. But beware, this is no easy feat, and it's always better to avoid these goblins altogether if you can. Among the many tales of...
So, I always adored Rose Gold Peach. Okay? I'm reading the comments. People are going to watch this, be like, clicking on it, and be like, oh, a video about redcaps. And then they get in here, and it's going to be like me rambling about my favorite Mario characters. Like, oh, I like Princess Peach. And no, I was just going to say, I wish they had a rose gold. I wish they had a rose gold Birdo. That would be cool. That would be cool. Let's see. William D. Solis. Let's look at this guy real quick, because he's coming up. All right. So William the Second D. Solis. I guess that's how you say that. I'm not actually 100% sure. He was the butler of Scotland. Scottish border noble during the wars of Scottish independence. William was the elder son of Nicholas II. So yeah, of course. And then you think about the British have folklore about Scottish rulers, having demonic familiars. Scottish border folklore maintains that a Soulis was involved in the black arts, being schooled with Michael Scott, not Michael Scott from the Office, a different Michael Scott, the Wizard of the North. Sir Walter Scott made this Lord Soulis Sir William and gave him a familiar called Robin Redcap. And some people call him Redcap Sly. In his work, The Minstrelsy of the Scottish Border. In retaliation for a long history of cruelty, locals boiled this Lord Soulis alive at Ninestane Rig. And the more likely culprit would have been Sir Randolph de Soulis of Lytle, 1150, murdered by his servant in 1207 or 1208. Well, he was pretty young when he was murdered then, 17 or 18 years old. Hot damn. That servant took him out early. Soulis is also said to have defeated the Northumbrian giant, the Cút o Kielder, the giant wore an enchanted armor that was impervious to any weapon, but the wizard tricked the giant by knocking him into a river where he drowned. The water is known as the drowning pool today. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Okay. There is a large burial mound near Hermitage Castle, said to be the final resting place of the Cút. Alright, so he's a giant slayer. And fairy tamer, all this good stuff, and a border czar, as they call them these days. If you wanted to know who this gentleman was here that they're talking about. So, that's the history. So, putting things in the proper framework for you.
Of Redcaps, one of the most infamous is the story of Lord William de Soulis and his sinister familiar.
There you go, de Soulis. The S is silent. Who knew? You all probably knew and are giggling. But again, like I've said a million times, I love to try to pronounce things that I'm not sure how to pronounce, get corrected, and then we can all learn. And I get to be the one that's silly up here saying the silly things. And I'm encouraging other people to try to enunciate things, try to pronounce things correctly, and to keep attempting.
In Redcap. Lord Soulis was no ordinary noble. He was known for his dark practices.
Wait, did you use a different pronunciation there? Did you use two different pronunciations?
Is the story of Lord William de Soulis and his sinister familiar Robin Redcap. Lord Soulis was no ordinary noble.
Ooh, you did. You switched within like 5 words of each other. You used 2 different pronunciations, and now I don't know.
He was known for his dark practices, dabbling in sorcery and black magic. His castle, Hermitage Castle in Scotland, became the centre of eerie legends, where locals spoke of strange occurrences and whispered rumours of his evil deeds. According to legend, Lord Soulis summoned Robin Redcap to be his personal servant, a powerful and malevolent goblin who aided him in his cruel and violent reign. Robin was feared throughout the land, and with his help, Soulis became nearly invincible. It was said that Robin Redcap had cast a spell on his master, making him immune to weapons of iron and steel. Arrows, swords, and lances were useless against him, and even hanging could not kill him. With such protections in place, Soulis grew bolder.
Sulasi. I want to have wizard powers. How come that can't be real? Something you can really do. I'd be like Scarlet Witch. Check it out. I kind of have the hair too. Like my hair's really close to the right color. I just need the thing. I don't have that, but I do have like the vampire thing to go over my neck. I could be Scarlet Witch though. Come on.
In his tyranny, unleashing terror on those living under his rule. But the legend doesn't end
Yes,
there.
Glinda was the good witch of the north. That's true. But apparently, this guy... Oh, hold on. There we go. Gotta pull that back out of there. This guy had a teacher who was also, which I don't know if it was, if Michael Scott was Glinda's husband, spouse, son, father. I'm not sure.
There. Eventually, the people had enough of Lord Solis's reign of terror. They rose up in rebellion, determined to end his life once and for all. With no traditional weapon able to harm him, they turned to an ancient method. The local villagers dragged Solis to the nearby...
So, the Tin Man, Jason, is almost like a Ship of Theseus-like character, right? The Tin Woodsman. Like, he's chopping wood and he chopped off his foot. So he replaced that with a tin foot. And then he chopped off his arm. He replaced that with a tin arm. And pretty soon the whole dude's replaced with tin parts. I think that's how the story goes with the Tin Man. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who knows more about Oz lore than I do. You need to revisit the whole Vampirella thing. I do have more vampire stuff coming up on my OnlyFans. If you're interested in that, the link pops up periodically. It's the Spider Gwen. So if you really, if you're into that, I do cosplay mostly on my OnlyFans. So if you want to see me as, let's see, I got pirate, I got a vampire, I got a clown, got a mermaid. So there's been a few different things that I've done. So if you're into that, go check that out. But I should definitely do Scarlet Witch. The vampire was the most recent one though. The vampire will probably come back again in October. I may do like a monster mash with a few different costumes. Vampire and like a Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein look or something like that. We'll see. Anyway, off topic, plugging my adult content. Hi, if you're interested in that.
Stone circle of Ninstane Rig, where they executed him in the most gruesome way by boiling him alive in a cauldron of molten lead. While the legend paints a fantastical picture of dark magic and brutal revenge, history tells a different story. Lord Solis was indeed real, but rather than meeting a supernatural end, he was arrested for treason after plotting against King Robert the Bruce. He died in prison, far from the boiling cauldron of the legend. While the bloodthirsty Redcap of the Borderlands is the most well-known version of this creature, variations of the legend exist across different regions. In some parts of Scotland, particularly in Perthshire, there's a surprising twist to the story. Instead of terrorising travellers, a local Redcap at Grantley Castle is said to bring good fortune to those who see him. This version of the Redcap is
Does he stain his hat with blood?
Far cry from the vicious goblin we've come to know. Similarly...
Wait, I want to know more about that guy. How does he get his red cap? Does he go like the butcher shop and ask for a friendly donation?
Folklore of the Borders mentions creatures that resemble redcaps, but with slightly different traits. The Dunter and the Powery, for instance, are spirits that haunt the same kinds of ruins. Rather than attacking their victims, they make ominous noises like grinding stones, and hearing these sounds is believed to be an omen of death or misfortune. These variations show how folklore evolves with time and place, each region adding its own spin to the myth. The legend of the Redcap is a chilling reminder of the rich and often terrifying folklore that has shaped the stories of the British Isles. Whether they are portrayed as violent goblins soaking their caps in blood, or as dark spirits haunting forgotten ruins, Redcaps represent the fear of the unknown and the danger.
Sean Bean does do some epic death scenes. He should play Dasuli in the movie. Sean Bean, that'd be perfect. He really would. I can't think of anybody who would be better at playing this Scottish sorcerer than sorcerer warrior, because he was also the Lord of the Border lands and tried to overthrow the. I mean, they could do a whole thing on it with Robert the Bruce and everything. Who do you think would play Robin Redcap, though, or Redcap Sly, whichever name you prefer?
That lurk in desolate places. Though reports of Redcap sightings have faded with time, their legend endures. But remember, these stories were more than just entertainment. They served as cautionary tales for those traveling alone through remote landscapes. And while the castles where Redcaps were said to live now lie in ruins, their sinister presence remains a part of local folklore.
I would love to go to Scotland and visit these castles on a foggy day. I'd probably have an orgasm. That'd be so freaking fantastic. Oh my gosh, and then to encounter a Redcap while I'm there. Ah!
So,
Nicolas Cage. Wow. Just wow.
The next time you find yourself near an
Andy Serkis with mocap? Yeah, I could see that. I could see Andy Serkis doing it in
ancient crumbling tower, take care. Whether it's the echo of footsteps behind you...
I guess it'd be a voice actor, because they'd make that character CG. It wouldn't be actually live action. I would rather they did it like they did the Hobbits in Lord of the Rings. You're talking about Andy Serkis, but I'd rather they do it like the Hobbits for Robin Redcap instead of making him a completely digital created character with mocap to just be a person in practical effects rendered diminutive in comparison to the other actors. Or they could do it like with like they did with the Leprechaun movies but they could have like Peter Dinklage or something play Robin Redcap. That'd be kind of cool.
A distant flash of red in the shadows. The legend of the Redcap reminds us that some stories, no matter how old, still carry a sense of danger. After all, you never know what might be waiting in the darkness. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to The White Light. It really helps. Stay tuned for more stories like this in the near future. And check out our other videos if you have time. Until we meet again.
All right, check this out. This dude actually went there. This is like the 12th Sagittarian Outdoor Adventures or whatever. So this is his Halloween episode where he went to Hermitage Castle. Oh, shoot. No, I can't do that. Hold on. It's 2.5 minutes, I think it was. Yeah, I can't have that music playing. He plays the whole Halloween song, the whole John Carpenter, the whole ding 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 ding, which is fun to play. I get it. He's not playing it himself though. He's like just playing a recording of it. If he was playing it himself, I'd probably let it play because. And homie's got the thickest accent.
Hi folks, Mickey here. And welcome to my Halloween special. Today we're in Scotland. And we're at Hermitage Castle.
Such a cool castle, and it's really good shape too. Look how good a shape it's in compared to a lot of castle ruins you see. It'd be so loud with the... What's going on with the music here, pal? I'm worried that this is going to be copyrighted, like tones and stuff. Maybe not. But that's one of my pet peeves about doing haunting videos and ghost videos and things like that. And this came up during the haunted tree video we did a couple of months back. It wasn't during Halloween time too, for that matter. But it calls back to that. Because there was a guy who did a video about a haunted tree in California, and if you put audio effects over your footage, I really start to doubt everything you're selling. If you put audio effects and visual effects over your footage, because I want to hear what you're hearing. I want to see what you are seeing as closely as possible. So please don't put, if you're a paranormal investigator making content, and you show footage of the location. If you're making fiction, that's one thing. But if you're trying to say this is a real haunted place, and you start putting glitch effects on your cameras and stuff when you're walking around, why? I want to know what's really happening. I want to get to the bottom of it. I don't want to, I don't want you to delve into or to oversell the delusions. So the reason I say that is because there's a lot of sound effects going over this video of just like ambience of rocks grinding and things like that. And gongs. You can't build a castle in a swamp.
How much castle?
Oh my gosh, I'm going to say, sorry, you said, because you said Chilo, it made me think of it. I just wanted to say, Chapel Roan is finally releasing an album with The Giver on it. The only place I know where to hear that, where you could hear that song was on the SNL episode that she did. So, it's got all the country music people so mad, all the country music chuds. It's hilarious. I just wanted to throw that out there. Just like Beyonce, like, oh, you're not real country. And I need to remind people that Chapel Roan is from the freaking Ozarks. She's from like southern Missouri in the heart of the Ozarks. Oh no, she's not country. Whatever.
It was first built by Nicholas de Solis in 1242. And when you first started construction, it was actually made of wood.
If I had a wood castle, I wouldn't tell anybody. I'd be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. It's made out of stone. And they get up and come and knock on it, of course. And they'd be like, it feels like wood. And I'd be embarrassed. But Dr. Tapioca Weasel, did you run out of stuff to smoke already? Was Dr. Tapioca Weasel in here? I didn't even see. I didn't have a weasel sighting. I'm glad to have a Maya sighting. Good morning, darling.
Now with the castle being so close to the borders, it was basically played a key role in the War of Independence in 1296.
Wow.
And as decades went,
what are you doing up this early? What are you doing here? Oh my gosh. I feel so honored though. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
the castle changed hand several times. Now, William de Solis became Lord of Hermitage in 1318. And rumour has it that he wasn't a very nice person.
All right, I'll turn you up a little bit.
He dabbled in black magic and spells.
I'm going to be blunt with you, pal. I love dabbling in black magic and spells. It's sort of my bag. So bring it on.
De Solis would summon up his familiar friend, Robin Redcap. The Redcap is known as an evil goblin.
It's still there, dude.
Killing travelers and residents.
Dude, it's still in that castle. You better watch out. I don't know. That's Backup Maya. Backup Maya. I have other channels that sometimes I'll pop in. More often now, it's the transpositions that I'll accidentally pop in with and be like, hey, bzzz, and then I'll be like, oh, wrong account. But there's other accounts I have too. I have sock accounts. I have a toxic sock account, which I recommend anybody who does response content gets, because that way you can avoid having your main feed full of nonsense and have a place that's just nonsense, right? That you don't have to like pick between, your friends' videos and stuff you're actually interested in and the nonsense that you're trying to cover. You can just go to a toxic sock account that follows all the horrid channels and pick from the nonsense.
Fresh blood stains on the Redcap's hat. Because if the stains dried, the Redcap would die.
Aw, that one's kind of cute. I mean, the bloody sword's a little bit much, but the big nose and the big eyes, it's cute. Like the birdie looking beak.
William de Solis terrorised his neighbours. One day in 1320, he kidnapped a young Armstrong farm woman and tried to return to the castle with her. When her father tried to stop him, de Solis killed him on the spot. By now, a crowd had gathered and de Solis was on the verge of being lynched. Fortunate for William de Solis, he was rescued by Alexander Armstrong. He managed to calm the crowd.
Dude, your music is tight and it's on point, like I said, but I'm worried about copyrights, and the main reason I'm watching this one is not to hear you tell the story. I'm just kind of looking at your castle.
I told William de Solis to get to his castle. So to thank him, he invited Alexander here to the castle for a nice meal, just to thank him. But instead, when Alexander arrived, evil William de Solis stabbed him in the back.
I think a lot of you all know my toxic sock account, but I'm not going to say the name here because sometimes I'll pop into a side chat and troll with it. That castle is so badass. Like, have you ever seen such a, and maybe I'm like overselling it, but because of its age, I'm impressed with how well the castle is held up. And, the architect who worked on it obviously knew what they were doing, but they put modern causeways and stuff to keep the navigation problems down. But there were probably wooden stairs inside here and wooden structures probably built in here too. What's this song? I'm kind of concerned about it. I'm gonna mute. Yeah, that's better. I'm just gonna mute it. Okay.
William Solis was kidnapping the children from the village and murdering them. He was also using the blood to make spells.
That's some Elizabeth Bathory, or Ezerbet, I guess is the proper way to say her name. Ezerbet Bathory, lore right there. She actually did it though. She actually did it. It's, because Eastern Europeans were subject to a lot of Middle Age propaganda, in that region of the world by both Western Europeans and the Turks. they were painted as cruel, bloodthirsty tyrants. So, take it with it from what you will. Now, obviously, like someone like Vlad the Impaler, there is historical records of him doing the horrific acts of impaling people, impaling the enemies. with Ezerbet, there's less evidence, at least on the scale that they try to present it as. You'll hear quotes of like 600 girls that she's allegedly killed to bathe in their blood to retain her youth, right? And grant her immortality. But it's far as confirmation that she actually did the thing, it's flimsy. Maybe we'll cover that sometime. I don't know how we'll tie that in unless somebody's got some conspiracies about it. I'll look into that because the Eastern European vampire conspiracy is pretty lit. But she ended up getting walled up inside of one of her chambers, one of her towers, I think it was, until she died. But apparently she was still very youthful looking. Yeah. But that's what the callback to this reminded me of when they're talking about kidnapping villagers and draining their blood. Yeah, Vlad of Wallachia. In the Carpathians.
Now, complaints start to arrive to the king. And have to listen to his latest, William de Solis' latest outrage.
That's why he has to drink blood, Sumami, to keep pumping through that thing.
He put his head in his hands and said, Solus de Solis, go boil him in brew.
This was the castle's prison. High-status prisoners were held here with the relative luxuries of a latrine and a window. The lowdown. The floor below was a grim pit prison devoid of light, fresh air, or sanitation. Imprisonment there was reserved for the darkest crimes and the lowliest criminals. A life sentence in 1342, Alexander Ramsay of Dalhousie, a rival of Sir William Douglas, was starved to death at Hermitage. Legend tells that he survived a short while by eating grains that fell through the floorboards from the chamber above. That's pretty grim. That's a grim way to go. Nobody should starve to death. That's pretty rough. All right. We're going to mute again because this music, I don't have to cut out like 90% of the video because copyright strikes. That's so annoying. So annoying when that happens, but I don't know that this music is copyrighted or not because the guy used the Halloween theme song at the beginning for like a full 2 minutes. But this is the best video I've seen for covering the actual castle location.
Heard the king say de Solis go boil him in brew. They overpowered William de Solis and carried him to a place not far from here called the Nine Stains, or the Nine Stains Rig. And there they wrapped him up in lead, put him in a big copper pot and spent it over a fire, boiled to death. Now when the king heard what the villagers had done, he jumped on his horse to go and rescue him. But by then, it was too late. William de Solis was gagging on his own broth.
Being boiled alive would be a hell of a way to go. Mute it again, and I'm gonna speed this up so we can get through most of the castle. Yeah, having it silent like this is kind of eerie too, but look how green that grass is. I don't know if they've turned up the contrast to make the castle pop, but let's see. Hermitage Castle has not always been the imposing fortress you see today. It developed over years with the changing tastes and needs of the residents. Yeah, it looks pretty imposing and strong. Nigh impregnable. What's the term? Ooh. Oh, God, those are beautiful. Old winding, moss-covered stone stairs. Oh, I'm in love. I love all the moss on this. Just the moss in general all over the place is freaking in lichen. Yeah, I shouldn't just assume it's moss. It's probably lichen. Which includes moss, but I digress. What's this hole here? Is he talking about it or just playing music? Still playing music. Okay. I'll wait until he starts talking. Alright, or until we get a look at the sign. The well. Alright. The Douglas family changes to Hermitage Castle in 1370. Included the addition of this tower and its well. Stuff of life. Water is the lifeblood of a castle. Without it, its occupants could not withstand siege and would be forced to surrender. Only 2 wells. There was already a well in the castle when the new one was installed. You can still see it today near the center of the castle. However, this one was dropped deeper and with greater capacity. Times were becoming more and more troubled. War with England was coming, and the inhabitants of Hermitage Castle were preparing for a long siege. Okay.
And not so long ago, the castle was need repair. So workmen were drafted in to do some repairs. And even they said they kept on seeing faces appearing, or shadows, in the arches of windows.
People seeing ghosts. There we go. That's what I was
They
looking
also
for.
said that you can hear the little boys, the cries of William de Solis' victims.
Yeah, but that's artificial. You're doing that. You're faking that. Not real. That castle is so cool looking, though. I just can't get over it. I love the peaks.
Now, the only romance that this castle is saying is when James Hepburn was injured in battle. That was in 1566. And Mary, Queen of Scots, raced to his bedside by horse with a small guarded unit. But with Mary being already married, she couldn't be seen here. So she only stopped 2 hours then left. But the seer, Mary herself, Queen of Scots, haunts these grounds.
Mary, Queen of Scots. Bloody Mary haunts these grounds too. So you got a Redcap and Bloody Mary. So I suppose that checks out that they would both, because Bloody Mary could supply the blood for the Redcap. Of course. I like that music too, but I'm turning it down. Just because I don't know about copyrights. You gonna talk?
Now we're heading to the chapel. And this is the chapel, folks.
It's a squeaky gate. You need to bring some WD-40 down and lube it up. Lube your chapel gates, people. Lube your chapel gates, or they will squeak when handsome Scottishmen open the door, or open the gate. And there's Robin Redcap on that too. Ooh, that's pretty too.
Age 28 years old. James. Suddenly. Died suddenly. 29, 1772. Age 28 years.
That's not that old.
1772.
Well, I mean, it is pretty old, but like in the UK, I expect like 1172 or something. I don't know. Yeah, I have. So here's the thing about Pantera. I have. How do I say this? I have mixed feelings about Pantera because if you don't know, now you do. Phil Anselmo is a white supremacist, white nationalist. So, I mean, do with that what you will. Do with that what you will. Just, I mean, I'm not trying to say, oh, you can't like Pantera now because Phil's awful, but I stopped listening to Pantera. It's been about 10 years. But Cemetery Gates before that was my favorite Pantera song.
Agnes, house. 37 years. 1806.
But actually, I say Cemetery Gates was my favorite song. Actually, This Love was probably my favorite. And then Cemetery Gates. But they're on the same album, right? Cowboys from Hell. I think. It's been a long time. Yeah. Well, this is 9 years ago. So, at the time that he made this is probably pretty top-notch podcaster on the scene.
Hermitage Castle.
Tech.
Absolutely amazing building. To think that many years, the architecture and things like that, you know. But it's not just that, it's the feelings you get when you're inside it.
We're going to actually... We're done here. We're going to go to Hermitage Castle ourselves in the sunshine and look and see if we can't see Robin Redcap anywhere. There's a picnic table. That's where he has his lunch break. Does it let us zoom out? Hell yeah. Oh man, we're way up high. We can't get down too close, can we? There should be some pictures like up and around it though. Let's see. You're standing in the middle. Oh no, I guess we're not seeing the middle. This is like a drone. Nice. Oh, this could be an airplane. Looks like drone footage though. Look how nice that castle looks. And you can see a lot of the lichen and moss. I think this up here would just be moss. It's the same kind of stuff that's growing on the ground cover, really. What a beautiful castle. Here's our picnic table we were talking about earlier. Is the chapel close by? I know the chapel's just got ruins now, but I don't see it anywhere. This house over here looks almost as old, though. The chapel ruins. Where are the chapel ruins? Oh, man, it has a big old courtyard wall, too. Look how huge that is. It goes all the way into the woods there. Is that the chapel down there, maybe? I can't tell. Looks like you had to walk a little bit of ways to get there, though, so I don't think it's like right next to it or anything. It's a little footbridge across the creek. Yes, I said creek. I'm from Missouri, damn it. Of course I'm going to say crack. Let's see. Let me catch up with the... I liked vulgar display of power. Yeah. That's a quote from The Exorcist. Everyone remember when I die, I want my gravestone to be a urinal. Let's see. Same Brie, mine was stronger than all. My ancestors' original castle got the Atlantis treatment to make a reservoir, but we did have a few others over the centuries. That's sad, though. I guess there's a lot of townships and cities under lakes and reservoirs. 1100s. I don't even think there's that. I wish I can be wishful thinking. Lots of castles and manors got turned into quarry sites. Ember, one of my mother's grandfather's manor is a grade 2 home, but in the center of a quarry. if Robin is a Redcap, what is Batman? Maybe Quetzal, or yeah, not Quetzalcoatlus. Camazotz, the Bat God. We did a video on him too. Is Robin here? I don't know. The bombing in World War II, so many listed buildings were damaged, and that's in Germany and the UK, all across Europe. Really, a lot of classic architecture was built. To be honest with you, I wasn't too sad to see Notre Dame catch fire some years back, because the Catholics deserve all the grief they can get at this point. But I'm rambling now, so it probably means that Cryptic Corner is coming to an end with talking about red caps. Let's see, we got any? Oh, here's the ruins. Here we go. Here's the chapel ruins. Okay, that's more sensible. So it's down this way. I was looking the wrong way. I was looking up creek. There's the Hermitage water. It's like the Bywater from the Hobbiton. All right. Well, that was Cryptic Corner for this morning, talking about the nefarious Redcaps of Scotland. Robin Redcap, or Redcap Sly in particular, whichever name you prefer to call the little creep. He was a servant of Scottish Lord Desuli or Desulis. I don't know the guy that we watched the video. He said, you heard it. He said on both ways. But he was a servant, and he gave him like immortality against arrows and weapons. But he didn't give him immortality against getting boiled alive, which is what happened to him. But Redcaps being a border spirit is kind of an interesting concept, symbolically speaking, especially the fact that they exist mostly just on the Scottish side, or what was the Scottish side at the time. Makes it a super interesting study in cultural demonization, because the people in Scotland still practice more of the traditional practices of the natives of the UK, right? Like of the Celtic traditions of their past, of their ancestry, than did people in southern England, which was definitely more Romanized and then Angelized and Saxonized and everything in between. North of the wall, Scotland was able to hold on to more of its traditions. So the fact that they had all this fairy lore up in Scotland, well, when you're trying to demonize the people of Scotland during a war with Scotland to create stories about them being bloodthirsty and having goblin servants that give them magic powers and stuff, is going to go a long way to get your people rallied against them and saying, yeah, we need to take back Scotland from these heathens. Oh no, Bugbot's on us getting sting crazy out there. All right. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, yeah. And then we do the don't go, because this is just the start of the show. We just did the first segment, the very first segment. There's much more show to come. And it's going to be a good time. So don't go anywhere. Because we're coming up on the Telepathy tapes, and that is going to be, I don't know how else to describe it. It's going to be problematic. But you stick with me, and we'll take you on a wild ride. I'll be back after a short intermission.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, so that they may come into the land of Egypt and eat every plant in the land, all that the hail
we'll take
has
you on a wild ride."
So Moses stretched out
I'll
his
be
staff
back
over
after
the
a
land
short
of Egypt,
intermission.
and the Lord brought up an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. When it was morning, the east wind had brought up the locusts. The locusts came up all over the land of Egypt and settled on the whole country of Egypt. Such a dense swarm of locusts as had never been seen before, nor ever will be seen again. They covered the face of the whole land, so that the land was darkened, and they ate all the plants in the land, and all the fruit of the trees that the hail had left. Not a green thing remained, neither tree nor plant of the field throughout the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh hastily called upon Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now, therefore, forgive my sin, please, only this once, and plead with the Lord your God only to remove this death from me. So he went out from Pharaoh and pleaded with the Lord, and the Lord turned the wind into a very strong west wind, which lifted the rocks and drove them into the Red Sea. Not a single locust was left in the country of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the people of Israel go.
Hello, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Getting Weird with It. And we are getting really weird today. We are looking at a podcast that was recently brought to my attention and it's kind of blown up by Joe Rogan here recently too. But it was brought to my attention by Ryan. So appreciate you, doll, Ryan, the wonderful Ryan Cultastic in the side chat. If you want to give her some love, she has a channel. They talk about, obviously about a lot of religious and cult mentality stuff that's found in modern churches. So if you want to learn, go over there. Yeah, Rogan got it on the map like so many other things that are stupid. Like so many other stupid things. Like Rogan was the reason why people were like, oh, they found a new species of giant anaconda in the Amazon. It's like, no, they divided the existing species of anaconda into two species, or the existing species into two different species. And the one with the new species name is the population with the biggest. So, or with the largest specimen. So the largest anacondas are now in a new species, not a new species of giant anaconda was discovered. But Joe Rogan doesn't care about nuance, right? It's all about sensational. It's getting people to tune in and listen to what's being said. So he did put the telepathy tapes on the map. Now they use this like 90s style cassette tape is their logo, and I'm loving it, the colors and everything about it. But we're gonna watch this is like a trailer for it. This is a commercial, and then we'll watch somebody giving a praise review of it, and then we'll watch somebody giving an honest take on that portion of it here with it actually has autism and it has an autism approach to the ableist claims made in this program.
My son said to me, I can hear thoughts. And I said, impossible. And he said to me, you don't get the kind of gifts that I have if you lie.
Let's please multiply.
So, just to be clear, I can hear thoughts too. They're my own. I know they're my own. But sometimes I sound like other people's voices. Sometimes my thoughts will have Maya's voice or Stephanie's voice or Ember's voice telling me this or that. Or sometimes it'll be my mom's voice. Depending on what it's telling me. Right? So I hear thoughts too. but I don't pretend that they're coming from outside.
By 2 numbers and see if he gets it.
Okay, what is it?
9 0 0.
Unbelievable.
1.
Maybe shuffle again, Dr. Powell. Oh.
Plus 2.
So he got the plus, too.
I was wondering, because I was looking at the 2 the whole time, and I...
Anybody considering the fact that our guy, and I'm not trying to say he's like a grifter or anything, he's just like doing his thing, but that he's got glasses on that are reflective to what's behind you. Just a thought. He also seems to have an earpiece in.
I saw his hand going somewhere else.
What is this phenomena happening? Why are his mind and my mind completely connected?
I knew that a lot of people would think, boy, Diane's gone off the deep end.
But that's the risk any scientist takes when they challenge the current paradigm.
Joining us today to shed some light, Dr. Diane Powell.
I'm working with children who have been reported by a parent to be able to read their mind.
The data was so compelling and accurate that I had to follow it, even though I knew I was risking my scientific reputation.
Again, we're talking like cold reading kind of stuff, things that people who like are nonverbal and stuff may learn to pick up on because they are trying to navigate a nonverbal world. So they look for more subtle cues in human engagement to understand how the people around them are feeling and what they're thinking. And someone that they're with constantly, like their own mother, their caretaker, is going to be the person that they're most connected with to pick up on these signals.
Started testing them, and I found that they were exceedingly accurate.
What is the next number?
3.
After the medical board took my license away, I had to prove my sanity. And once I did, I said, I'm going to prove that ESP...
Well, that bodes well for you. Took your license away. What'd she say about ESP?
He is real.
Dr. Tarrant, he's done...
ESP is real, she said.
These QEEG scans to see what's going on.
The biggest overall finding is really this increase of activation across all the brain waves. If there was no change, I would definitely be skeptical.
If you can show a consistent pattern, particularly from kid to kid, that's how science changes. You cannot fake this.
We want answers like, where does it come from? I want to know how and what are we supposed to do?
We can't all be crazy.
We are far more powerful than we can imagine.
Nobody thinks you're crazy, but people are thinking you're maybe reading too much into it. I don't know.
And the implications are huge for humanity and the planet.
Yeah. So, telepathytapes.com. Help fund the documentary. I will not be helping to fund the documentary, but this is their website, right? In a world that often dismisses the extraordinary as mere fantasy, the Telepathy Tapes dares to explore the profound abilities of non-speakers with autism, individuals who have long been misunderstood and underestimated. These silent communicators possess gifts that defy conventional understanding, from telepathy to otherworldly perception, challenging the limits of what we believe to be real. For years, their parents and teachers have quietly witnessed these remarkable abilities, knowing that the time to share the truth would eventually come. But now, as the evidence mounts, the time has come to reveal what was been hidden in plain sight. This groundbreaking series challenges everything we think we know about communication and the human mind, inviting viewers to step into a reality where the impossible is not only possible, but happening every day. Through emotional stories and undeniable evidence, the Telepathy Tapes offers a fresh perspective on the profound connections that exist beyond words. traveling with neuroscientist Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, who is, as she just said, had her license taken away, witnessing mind-boggling telepathy tests and forging deeply intimate relationships with families around the globe. Host Kai Dickens invites you to contemplate the world through the eyes of those who speak without words. Prepare to be captivated, challenged, and ultimately transformed as the series shines a light on the untold capabilities of those who have been underestimated for far too long. And it's on all these paid sites. It's also got YouTube on here. And you can go here and they got episodes. I think that you don't get the new episodes right away on YouTube, but it looks like they may have them drop in periodically. But they run from about 20 minutes to an hour. This is an hour. This one's 20 minutes. Just to give you an idea, if you do want to watch them, it looks like 10 episodes out now, 9 episodes. But this is their YouTube page. Get it all on a playlist, of course, but I'm not sitting through 9 hours of the telepathy tapes. I will let other people who watched it give me the lowdown and tell me if there's anything significant that I need to jump out. I mean, I might watch it at some point. I may at least listen to some of it. Maybe I'll listen to it while I'm like going to sleep or something. Help me go to sleep, but we'll see. Anyway, that's the telepathy tapes. This lady is logically free-spirited, sea-bitten, solar-powered, logically free-spirited biker's daughter residing in Gotham at the corner of science and spirituality. So she does a lot of woo stuff too, and she's really infatuated with the telepathy tapes. If you can't tell, we're going to watch her first little video about it. She goes on as much as the full episodes about each episode, but we're just going to watch her general take on it. But she's fairly new too. I guess not fairly new. She's been around for 4 years, but she's just recently started making this stuff, I guess, here about 3 months ago. Diving into the panic attack. She says panic attack right here. Diving into the telepathy tapes. But without further ado, let's give her the floor. Let's give logically free-spirited the floor.
Many times. I really hope it works. So many times. I really hope it works this time. I've struggled to even write the outline for this video because I just don't know where to begin. My mind is so warped right now. It's all I can think about. It's all I can talk about. And now I have to share it with you. We've got to talk about the telepathy tapes, a podcast that was recently sent to me by a friend. And when I say it's reality altering, I am not being facetious. It literally sent me into ontological shock. And it's honestly so beyond worth it. And I can't get enough. But first, my name is Sundown, and this is Logically Free-Spirited, where we will blend science as well as spirituality and logic as well as intuition, all while exploring the human experience. So let's dive in. In their own words, this groundbreaking series challenges everything we think we know about communication in the human mind, inviting viewers to step into a reality where the impossible is not only possible, but happening every day. And that's literally what this is about. The impossible happening every day. Real life magic. But before getting into this, I do...
Magic, y'all. But again, this is, a spirituality channel, so that's to be expected, I suppose. I was actually anticipating more scientific language, though, because she says she's at the corner of science and spirituality, which is a corner that doesn't exist because those two don't overlap.
I do want to say I have no personal affiliation with the telepathy.
But again, I think I'm of the opinion that spirituality is a extension of sociology and psychology. So we have a different opinion on what spirituality is anyway.
Tapes in any way. I am merely a listener, a fan, and dare I say, advocate of what it represents. I'm making this video out of love of the work. And
your Monstera is doing great, love. Your Monstera is looking healthy and full.
Respect for the host, Kai Dickens, and her collaborators, and all of the doctors and teachers and crew and families working to get this information out. I'm just making this to spread awareness and hopefully help in my own way. But I really don't know how to begin. That is the magnitude of what this is about. It's paradigm shifting.
It's ableism and magical thinking.
The telepathy tapes explores how nonverbal autistics communicate, not only with each other, but with others. And by others, I mean voice users like myself. And they're communicating telepathically.
Voice users. Okay. I can actually get on board with that, with using less ableist language. But girl, do you know how ableist you sound? Being like, oh, autism is magical. Like, do you hear yourself?
Ethically. I'm going to say that again. The nonverbal autistic community is communicating telepathically. And
I could pull off those bangs, I think. I think I could do bangs like that. What do you guys think? Well, alcoholic spirit have some science behind them, including the notion that alcohol is a solution. Ba-doom, there you go. I'm no super mad that she's involving ASD people for her grift. Yeah?
I have been. I'm not pitching this as a theory. I'm not proposing it as an idea.
This is not a drill.
I am telling you that this is happening, and it has been, and we've all been ignoring it.
She's just asserting it. I'm not going to pretend that, or I'm not going to tell you that this is a theory or an idea. It's actually happening. It's not, though. You're being taken for a ride by the same kind of nonsense that James Randi debunked back in the early 80s or late 70s with Uri Geller and all that. You're just falling for the same grift again, except for this time it's people using their ASD kids as the pawn, because ASD people are more likely to pick up on things like cold reading and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Been censored and ignored. My dog. But before I go deeper in, let me start by briefly explaining the concept of telepathy as well as the definition of autism. The current definition of autism is a neurological condition that affects how someone learns and behaves, as well as how they interact and communicate with others. And telepathy is mind-to-mind communication, so speaking without words, usually involving two people, a sender of the message and a receiver of the message. So mind reading. And this podcast dives deep into this
nonsense. Mind reading is not a thing that humans can do. And I'm welcome to be proven wrong. I have friends and family who claim to have psychic intuitions or signals from somewhere that guide them. I would speculate that it's their intuition, and they're just really intuitive people that are closely connected with their environment and surroundings and able to pick up on subtleties that maybe we can't, or to infer data from subtleties that we're not used to inferring. But I can't prove that, that there's no situation under any circumstances where somebody receives some kind of psychic message. You can't prove a negative, right? But anytime they've ever looked into anytime they've ever done any kind of research into psychic powers, telepathy, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, any of this stuff, it's always come back as nonsense.
Science behind this phenomenon. It introduces children from all over the world who can do this, and they demonstrate it repeatedly over and over and over and over again, reading the minds of their caregivers and their mothers and their teachers, and in some instances, just anyone around them. It also explores why this information has been silenced, and it doesn't shy away from the controversies or the...
I am kind of tired. Thank you for noticing, Al. I keep yawning, but we did the fundraiser last night, so I was up pretty late, and then I had to get things set up for this show, so I didn't get to bed until it was about 1 a.m. and I had to I have to get up to do the show. I generally get up about an hour before to do my makeup, make my coffee and stuff. So I am a little tired, and I started a new job this week, as I said earlier in the show. So I'm also a little bit worn down from that mentally, but I actually like it. It's a great place so far, so good.
The implications of what's being said. If the nonverbal among us have been able to hear our thoughts, any of our thoughts, I cannot imagine the things that they've had to bear witness to. But it also explores what this could mean for the future in the most wonderful way. And I think we can all use more good news. Sorry, it's my dog. And now a siren. But it also explores...
with the whole, her whole spirituality thing, she's kind of adorable, though, I think. But, I like that when you roll with the punches when things aren't going your way on a stream. I do that, especially not so much here anymore. Or in the early days, a lot here. Every now and then I'll do Bree, you're muted kind of stuff. But on the transpositions, we just roll and laugh with it when we have production issues or things like that. Because what can you do? We woo, exactly.
What this could mean for the future in the most wonderful way. And I think we can all use more good news. Part of that good news is that it doesn't seem to just be a few people. According to multiple non-speakers introduced in the podcast, all people in the nonverbal community have this ability.
Did I misread the joke, Al? I'm sorry. I'm a little bit. I said, my brain's a little strung out. I hope you had a good sleep. You seem kind of tired. I'm looking for the joke. I'm sorry. Always look great even when they don't. Aw, thank you. I look especially great today. I don't know if I feel especially great. I kind of just threw my face on, and I really wanted a Redcap today for the Redcap episode.
Varies from person to person, but apparently the ability is there. And the main reason it goes largely unknown by the majority is because there's a lack of presumed competence in the autistic community. They're treated as though they aren't in there, as though they're not capable of rational thought. And
which
they
is bullshit.
Learn, they
which is bullshit. I agree, but it does not mean that they're magic.
Definitely cannot teach, so why even try? That has been the running theory. Without the ability to easily verbalize any thoughts or manage certain functional motor skills, there was no way for these people to tell us otherwise until they learned to spell. And even that, I want to rephrase, learned to spell. From what I understand at this point, these people are actually geniuses, and they're having to dumb down their communication efforts so that we, the speakers, can understand them. Apparently and understandably, telepathy seems...
So every nonverbal autistic person is now a genius who has psychic powers. So if you're nonverbal ASD person out there, congratulations on your status as a true telepath. Please watch the mail for your enrollment at Xavier's School for Gifted Young People.
Seems like a superior way to communicate. The nuance of emotion and meaning doesn't have to be deciphered by tone or punctuation or facial expressions. i.e., trying to figure out if that text message or email was sarcastic or sincere.
It's written in plain English. What does it mean?
The thought is just directly and clearly and wholly communicated.
Do you get it, Lana? Sandra, do you get it?
My point is...
The cutaways kind of like go way against the tone of the video, don't they?
Is that the autistics that start to spell have made it very clear. They know exactly what's going on, and they know way more than we can comprehend. There are multiple examples throughout the podcast of these spellers demonstrating knowledge that defies reasonable logic. Like,
have you just tried? Maybe if you stop talking, you'll become telepathic. Who's your buddy?
A girl who can read obscure hieroglyphs, or a 5-year-old boy who speaks over 8 languages when his family speaks just 1. And not only can they read the minds of others...
That's... fixation on a special interest is, oh my gosh, it's a normal thing, not just for autistic people, but I'm an ADHD person, and I have that too, where I hyperfixate stuff. That's why I know so much about animals, like a ridiculous amount about animals, like more than I'll ever need to know, because my brain hyperfixates on stuff, but not even close to what somebody on ASD or with ASD might experience.
They're communicating directly with each other across zip codes all over the world telepathically on another dimensional plane on these mental mounds they call the hills. And there's proof, and I'll get to that. The telepathy tapes starts with Vanderbilt-educated filmmaker.
Wait a second. I haven't seen any proof. I've watched a lot of stuff on these telepathy tapes this week, and I haven't seen any proof.
And our beloved host, Kai Dickens, learning about Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell from another podcast, The Cosmos and You.
Dr. Powell, again, lost her license because of these practices.
I've linked it below.
Do with that what you will.
Dr. Powell is a Johns Hopkins trained neuropsychiatrist, speaker, author, and researcher who joined the faculty at Harvard. So a very real, very solid academic. And truly, she is fascinating. I highly recommend listening to any podcast that she's on. In this one,
are you gonna mention that she lost her license, or just kind of leave that floating there?
She's discussing her research studying savants, and she noticed that the majority of savants are autistic and or blind. Savants are people who demonstrate exceptional aptitude in something that they have no previous or formal training in. Like Ellen Boudreau, who can play music perfectly after hearing it just once. She can also tell you the current time down to the minute without ever having the passage of time explained to her or ever seeing a clock, because Ellen is also blind. And she maneuvers the world not with a mobility cane, but with echolocation, by chirping with her mouth and listening to the reverberations around her.
So Ellen's Daredevil now. Well, Daredevil, and then... yeah, who's somebody who can do the music thing? I don't know, that kid from August Rush.
This woman is autistic. She's also a savant. She's also a fucking badass. Or Stephen Wiltshire.
That's true, and instead of giving her the credit for just being an exceptional person with exceptional abilities, you want to give her supernatural powers, which is like it's not the same thing as being really good at something, right? It's not the same thing as having superpowers.
Who can accurately draw detailed landscapes of cities after seeing them briefly just once. There's a link to a video of him demonstrating this in the description box below. Or James Henry Pullen, the genius of Earlwood Asylum, who created a 10-foot, highly detailed wood replica of the SS Great Eastern, down to the miniature furniture in each room. In the Cosmos and You podcast, Dr. Powell begins to discuss her research, eventually revealing that among the savants she studied, she found a number of telepathic autistics, and she came to believe that telepathy should be treated as a savant skill like any other. Understandably and thankfully, this hooked Kai, and she reached out directly to Dr. Powell, and the telepathy tapes were born.
Well, so here's what I want from the telepathy tapes. I want you all to contact the James Randi Foundation, right? and to collaborate with them on exploring the depths of the telepathy tapes with that foundation. If what you say is what Dr. Powell here is saying is indeed true, then we need to see it.
Hive starts off by first reviewing Dr. Powell's previous research and experiments, eventually moving on to conduct many, many more alongside her and other accredited and notable doctors and scientists. So they start by meeting the families virtually and eventually moving to in-person meetings. And these kids are nailing it nearly 100% of the time. And that is statistically unheard of. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And all of this is recorded. They do various types of experiments using random number generators, image generators, word generators, picture books, textbooks, card decks, all sorts of things. And all of these tests involve the autistic...
Prove it in a neutral setting, right? And let's do some double-blind research on this if you want to actually be taken seriously. Because that's if you watch the telepathy tapes, it's just them being like, look, these people can, guess what these numbers are and all this stuff. But, or they can read my mind and things like that. But you never see it done in a clinical setting where they can actually study it properly.
Autistic person and their telepathy partner, often a teacher, a therapist, or parent. So let's take the textbook, for example. They would hand the non-autistic telepathy partner a book and have them open to a random page, and the autistic person could tell them the page number they were looking at. They could finish any sentence. They could tell you what the third word on the 7th line was. They could read all of it.
That's incredible.
And there are people with that ability to have that eidetic memory for book pages. Right? That's the thing. Eidetic memory. I had, me and my brother both had eidetic memories when we were kids. They kind of fade when you grow up, for a lot of people. But apparently when you're autistic, they don't fade because my friend Leo Filius, if you know who that is, he has an eidetic memory and he's an adult now. And I guess his ASD helped him retain that to some extent.
Either while sitting blindfolded on the other side of a partition or facing the wrong way or across the room or in another room completely. In some instances, in a different building or at least on the different floor. It's crazy. Again, nearly one...
Do it by independent researchers, though. Do these studies with independent researchers, lady. That's not how the telepathy tapes were handled.
100% accurate. I say nearly because there have been some mistakes, but very, very few. Nearly all experiments were completed with 100% accuracy, repeatedly. Different kids, different situations, different tests. But here's an interesting thing I found from listening to Kai on a different podcast. They actually discovered that the accuracy or the ability to type to begin with was often highly dependent on the energy around the speller. It didn't make the final cut of the telepathy.
There's that energy word, the E word. And we should have some kind of prompt that anytime somebody says energy, that we do like exclamation point energy or something, and it says something silly. Because when it comes to our weekly weirdness here, we we tend to run into things like energy and vibes a lot. A lot of the stuff depends on vibes. Yeah, Leo is a cool dude. I like Leo. He's a sweetheart.
Tapes. But Kai told a story about a boy who was unable to spell when in the presence of a disbelieving producer. When they kindly asked her to remove herself, he went right back to accurately, telepathically communicating and typing. Zero mistakes.
Well, what can you expect from a non-believer?
And this is just...
Well, so this is that's the Uri Geller excuse. We remember when we watched a couple weeks ago when he was on Carson, he's like, oh, I'm not feeling it because there's too much negative energy around me. There's too many non-believers here for me to be able to do my thing. So even the autistic telepaths and psychics are like, I'm sorry, are even the autistic telepaths are like Santa Claus, and that you have to believe in them.
Just the beginning. It gets so much more involved. So my first question was, if Kai's a filmmaker and all of this is recorded, why am I not watching this? Why am I listening to this? And this seems to be for two reasons. One, funding. Documentary filmmaking is expensive, and conducting experiments that hold up to scientific rigor with people all over the world is expensive. And two, time. The amount of information in each...
But that's how you have to do it. You do have to go through the scientific process. I'm not just going to believe you because a mother and son have a cold reading connection that impresses you, and that the ASD child has a fixation with memorizing book pages or math problems or whatever.
Each episode is absolutely astounding, and I have no idea how they would ever condense it. I'd be heartbroken for whatever they left out. However, there is more good news. They are working on a documentary, and they are accepting donations. There is already a trailer cut, and you can find it on the website, thetelepathytapes.com, along with a fundraiser.
What are you, on the payroll?
I've also put everything in the description box. I do know that they have been in talks with streaming services and production companies about a potential docuseries, but rightfully, Kai is being extremely picky on how to go about this, making sure that they are protecting the families at all costs. Honestly, we need more Kais. But my next question...
I think that we need less Kai. I mean, less people, less ableist people in the world trying to paint ASD people as some kind of supernatural freaks or mutants or whatever.
Question was, why is this not world news? Why is everyone not talking about this? The podcast dives deep into the current and historical science and research of the phenomenon. Kai talks to former teachers and therapists that have been experiencing and exploring this topic for over 30 years. This has been going on. People have known about it. So why has this been hidden and censored? I do not want to take away from the podcast at all. So please do yourself a favor and check it out.
Just do it.
But I will say, the telepathy tape...
I probably will at some point. I may have to revisit this as a panel. Maybe have like Ryan and Maya on, and we'll actually watch some of the episodes. Let me know if y'all be down for that. Maya, of course, Bad Science Sunday tomorrow night. What is it? What is it Eastern time? It's 8, right? 8:30 Eastern. 7:30 Central, maybe. I might have that wrong. Put the times in. Yeah, if you want to do that, we could do that. That'd be fun.
Answers this question. They discuss the religious fears around ESP, as well as the controversies surrounding the communication methods. Not just telepathy, but how these kids are communicating that they're telepathic, how they are indicating what page number their mom is looking at across the room, the ways in which they are spelling or typing, with letterboards or iPads. This form of communication has numerous different names and iterations, including spelling to communicate, spelling to communicate, that's it, and facilitated communication, supported typing, rapid prompting method, and all of these involve a letterboard where the autistic person communicates.
9:30 Eastern. Yeah, I flip-flopped the way the time zones work. I'm sorry. Thank you. 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain, 6:30 Pacific. There we go.
By pointing at each letter, or an iPad where they can physically type either letter by letter, or
which is like 1:30 a.m. UK time, I think.
Or using word prompts that are generated by their typing, kind of like the predictive text feature on the iPhone. But Skeptics don't trust this for various reasons, all of which I personally call bullshit on. But listen to the podcast and tell me if you feel differently.
I think you'll agree with many, many other thinking people.
Okay, so earlier I mentioned the mental mounds called the hills. If you are already familiar with the telepathy tapes, you may be surprised that I am saying hills, plural. Again, I cannot get enough of this stuff.
Plural.
So I was listening to Kai in another interview, and she mentioned that she recently learned there's actually more than one hill. But for those who haven't yet listened, I'm going to try and explain this without giving too much.
You're just using terminology without explaining it, though. You would talk about hills, and you're talking about what was the word she said earlier? Spells or whatever. Yeah, you're using all these terms that are used within the experiment.
Way. Throughout her research, Kai comes to learn about the Hill, a place where these non-speakers collect and communicate telepathically, essentially where
the Akashic Records is what they called that back in my day, back when I was into the woo-woo. The Akashic Records on the astral plane.
They hang out, but in their heads. And throughout the podcast, there are multiple examples of proof that this is actually happening.
It's all happening, people. It's taking place around us, okay?
Namely that prior to the podcast airing, different teachers, parents, and therapists from all over the country who do not know each other brought up the Hill, unprompted and unprovoked.
Did they use the term the Hill? Are all these autistic children referring to this place as the Hill and saying that they meet there with their psychic powers? I'm going to doubt that. And I look forward to the citation on it. I don't think you're going to provide it or any kind of clip or anything from it. You're just going to say it's real.
Apparently, the non-speakers are going there to socialize and to learn and to teach one another. Again, like I said, once able to communicate, these people are providing incredible displays of knowledge and understanding, ranging from science to spirituality, from language to math to music to everything in between. And they've all repeated the same thing. They're learning from each other and they're learning on the Hill. The only reason none of us knew about this was that lack of presumed competence, because they don't communicate the same way we do. And without the presumption of competence, society...
Maybe I'll see if Leo can come on too. That'd be cool if we do a 4-person panel. Me, Ryan, Maya, and Leo. If Maya's interested. I don't know if she'd be interested or not, but having somebody that's on the spectrum join us would be great, especially if they have I don't want to say nonverbal, but if they've had a history of being of interacting with nonverbal autistic people in their what do you call it, treatments? Not really, in their education, I guess.
Felt no need or reason to teach them or give them the tools to spell. But man, did we get things wrong.
What if we've been using the wrong tests to quantify intelligence in children with autism?
This is also not in the podcast.
And I think that's true. That's valid. I think what you all are doing now here is dangerous and detrimental to understanding the autism spectrum.
But I recently learned, again from Kai, about a young autistic boy who is working with doctors and scientists to help find relief for autistics with severe brain-body disconnections. He apparently pointed them to a particular element on the periodic table that they hadn't previously considered an option for healing. And then he told them not to put it into a pill or an injectable, but into a lotion that could be applied topically. So they did, and they're testing it, and apparently it's working.
Citation needed. All her citations are like this one time, this one kid, this one person, this one doctor. It's like, lady.
It's incredible. Again, this isn't in the podcast. I'd love to dive deeper into this research, so let me know if you want a video on it. Okay, the final question. What do we actually do with all this information? In one afternoon, I binged probably the first 4 or 5 episodes, and I found myself emailing Kai directly and singing her praises, telling her my mind was officially blown and asking how I could help. She recently mentioned in another interview that
Is the element radium. I love that. Which element is it? She doesn't even mention which element it is. Because that way, if she did, then we could look into it and find out.
Out.
How can we help?
She said the main thing that anyone can do to help right now is to get to know the non-speakers in their community by volunteering and partnering with organizations in their area. By getting to know these people, by getting to know who they are and what they have to say, what they're interested in, and how to best communicate with one another, massive shifts will start happening. Not just shifts in the autism community, but shifts in the world as we understand it.
Thank you, PC. Yes, go look at the Cryptic Corner t-shirts. There is a special one that will be running through, I had it set to run through May for the Fresno Nightcrawler. Once it's gone, it's gone. So if you want the Fresno Nightcrawler t-shirt for Cryptic Corner, you need to order it soon because May 15th, it's going off the market. There'll be a new one, though, that comes out when that one goes off. But we will cross that bridge when we get there. Go check them out.
Non-speakers could be paired with speakers in fields that they're interested in, like the boy working with the medical team, the breakthroughs and the scientific discoveries, the music and the artwork we could be given, the lessons we could learn. It would be numerous. And the implications of what this could mean for our future
on my end
are
that went black?
ineffable. But we'll never see that future if we don't recognize these people, if we don't give them a voice, give them respect, treating them not like other, but as part of the whole. So awareness is the next great step. It's why I'm making this video. It's why I just signed up to volunteer in my community. The podcast gets into the roles that energy plays in communication. It goes into animal telepathy and two-way telepathy. All of these I'd love to talk about more. So let me know if you
Animal telepathy. We've covered animal whisperers, a couple of different people on this show. If you want to see more animal and pet psychic stuff, though, let me know. I mean, as I said, when you put things on the poll, you put a channel, you list a channel or a video in the comments. I will look into adding it to the next poll if it's something that I think I could cover and get some education out of.
Want a part 2. I think mainly I want to talk about the mind-body connection and disconnection. For instance, what does this information mean for multiple personality disorders? What does it mean for spontaneous savant syndrome in people who have had traumatic head injuries or near-death experiences? What does this mean for reality? So again, please go listen to the telepathy tapes.
And can we start calling it DID? It just seems more appropriate to use that terminology for anybody who deals with that condition.
And share it, and then come back and let me know what you think. And please like and share and comment on this video so that the algorithm picks it up and it gets out to more people. Again, awareness is the next great step. And truly, there's so much more to say. So let me know what you want me to cover next. And remember, always embrace both critical thinking.
And what she covered next was just more telepathy tape stuff. Like, that's what she's covered for the last couple of months. But this is a channel. Let's pull this up here.
For literally years.
Autistic AF, right? Mike and the Autistic Cats. And it's a channel where he talks about autism and struggles with autism, research on autism, sort of gives a well-rounded point of view as a person on the spectrum to different topics that come up that affect autistic people directly. So I'm sure he has some things to say about it. Now, he spent the first part of this video talking about a different topic. It was the Dr. John Campbell character. But we we want to talk about the telepathy tapes. So, the second half of this video is about that.
Trump and RFK in this video because I've already spoken about them here in an earlier video linked in the description. And if you find this sort of debunking content helpful, please give this video a like and consider subscribing if you want more content on autism myths, I guess, and neurodiversity. I'd love to grow this channel past the one run by a certain questionable autism charity, so thank you for supporting me. Section 3. Enter the telepathy tapes. Now for our second star of anti-intellectual culture, the telepathy tapes. This documentary claims that some non-speaking autistic children communicate telepathically using ESP. In the trailer, families show kids responding to prompts without clear cues, implying mind-reading powers. But there's zero. I'll say that again. There is zero peer-reviewed research confirming telepathy in autistic children or anyone. So the kids are communicating, yes, but is it telepathy? That's never been replicated in controlled experiments. Researchers have tried to prove telepathy for ages. The Ryan experiments, for example.
And we covered the CIA's work, MK Ultra. We've turned over a lot of stones in the research of telepathy here in recent months.
James Randi's $1 Million Challenge, which nobody succeeded in claiming, because these are being tested under strict conditions. Often it's subtle cues, wishful thinking, or something called facilitated communication, which has been thoroughly debunked. Facilitated communications results vanish under controlled tests where the facilitator can't see the prompts. I think the thing that's bugging me about this, that's niggling me, is that this narrative paints autistic children as magical or mystical, which is ignoring their real need for evidence-based supports like AAC or sign language or speech therapy. It sensationalizes them rather than respecting the actual work that the kids can do to learn robust communication methods.
Right, they're learning to communicate emotions and feelings and even complex thoughts non-verbally and in ways that maybe seem supernatural to us because we don't communicate in that way. We haven't routed those paths in our brains.
The last thing they need is to be cast as X-Men with psychic powers. From their website, it appears that they feature a handful of families or practitioners demonstrating what they allege is telepathic communication. Nearly all of the examples outside of the trailer are located behind a paywall, and it didn't feel right to spend money supporting them to view that content. But one thing is consistent. It's autistic children shown seemingly responding to questions or prompts from an adult with no traditional visible or audible cues. So we're left to assume they have mind-reading powers. To be clear, there's zero peer-reviewed research to confirm telepathy in autistic individuals, or anyone for that matter. This doesn't mean the kids aren't communicating though, and they are using their autistic brains, but the claim of telepathy and ESP has no scientifically validated mechanism behind it, and every time it's tested, it fails. But the recent telepathy claims bring up some deep-seated myths about autistic people. Sometimes savants, having literal superpowers. It's as though we're mutants, on one hand, unable to predict what other people are thinking, sarcasm, and on the other hand, able to literally read minds. ESP itself has been thoroughly debunked.
Isn't that like super counterintuitive, but the ableistic point of view people have towards ASD in general, as being, oh, these people don't know how to communicate emotions and things like that on one end, and now they're saying, oh, but they're psychic on the other.
Researchers have conducted numerous controlled experiments trying to demonstrate telepathy, including the famous Ryan experiments at Duke University, and none have produced reliable, replicable results. When proper controls are in place, like preventing subtle physical cues, some little like touching, a little bit of prompting, when you implement double-blind protocols, use randomized trials, the supposed telepathic abilities disappear. This is James Randi, the renowned investigator and TV magician, who even offered a $1 million prize. It held in escrow, this is completely legit, for anyone who could demonstrate paranormal abilities under controlled conditions. That's the key. Controlled conditions. Immune to trickery. The money was held in escrow and required scientific evidence to win it. Uri Geller, the spoonbender, James Popoff, and other well-followed famous frauds of the 80s and 90s were proven to be using tricks, not parapsychology or having psychic powers. I remember one episode of a weekend British TV show where Uri Geller encouraged people to bend spoons using his psychic powers through the TV. It turns out his spoon bending trick required pre-prepared weakened spoons. He can't do the magic without a bit of physical preparation, but that didn't stop people from all over the country phoning in with positive claims that they had magically bent spoons in their own homes.
We did this. I remember me and my brother and my dad thought it was hilarious when we watched this. We got spoons out of the drawer and tried to practice bending them with our mind when we saw Uri Geller do it.
With their minds.
Tim's got a few here. All I can tell you is we've had thousands upon thousands of calls. I mean, lots of spoon bending. I mean, the quality of teaspoons in this country must be appalling.
I have
Just
these
a couple
glasses.
of examples. In Joanna Lancaster in Notting Hill in London, she says the second hand of her watch is jumping at 5-second intervals now, so there's a big bill coming your way. Peter Bevan and Nuneaton, a watch hasn't worked since 1954. His dad passed it to him after he died, and now for the first time ever started to tick. We should have clear in.
This was national TV, by the way. I'm kind
nonsense.
of like, at the time in the UK, when it was like the one show everyone had to watch, there was no Netflix, it was just this channel pretty much, and this was the big show, and everyone was tuning into it. And just like it, many attempts by people claiming to have telepathic connections with people, including autistic people.
There is no spoon.
No one has ever claimed $1 million. And no one has ever proved it. I'm not saying everyone who holds a belief in the supernatural is doing so deliberately with the intention to mislead people. Sometimes the experiments revealed either deliberate deception, but often it was just unconscious ideomotor responses, subtle physical cues that people weren't aware that they were giving or receiving. Sometimes it's when you know someone so well you can read what they're going to say, when you finish each other's sentences, just knowing how someone is feeling without them actually telling you. If I'm at home and working and Nina is out, just before she comes back, the dogs will all start barking. They're picking up on subtle signs, subtle cues. Like, nobody's saying that Trudy can read the time, but dogs are masters of following their people and learning every cue about them without being explicitly trained to do so. Humans are similar. Rather than psychic powers, it's more of a subconscious cue. I've never seen anyone online showing as much desperate energy as the parents of autistic children. And this is partly why I think there's a conflict between actually autistic adults like myself and the autism moms like Abby's mom, Christine. There's an intense desire as a parent to see your child grow up to be the best that they can be. And sometimes it's seen as autism is being in the way, is making the child broken, needs to be fixed. Maybe there's a miraculous
There's no
cure that they've been dreaming of for the whole child's lifetime. Autism is often framed as being a disease, as being something undesirable. So I can see how it's easy to want something to be true, even if it isn't. And so with the telepathy tapes, we see three things coming together. The belief in the paranormal and ESP, with the belief that autistic, non-speaking family member has supernatural powers, and added to the mix from the box set, it's always a box set of beliefs, facilitated communication. In the trailer, the adult, which seems to be the autistic person's mother, is using a technique called facilitated communication, FC, which has been thoroughly debunked by scientific research. FC involves a facilitator physically supporting the person's hand or arm while they type or point to letters, but controlled studies have shown that the facilitator is unknowingly guiding the communication.
Ideomotor movement, same thing you see with a Ouija board. You see, mom's holding the board, she can lower it or raise it a little bit subtly this way or that way, let him know which one to push.
Not the non-speaking person. It's a classic example of the ideomotor effect, where subtle unconscious movements can create the illusion of independent communication. The pattern of ESP claims failing under scientific scrutiny isn't new. What's concerning is how these unproven ideas get attached to vulnerable populations, like non-speaking autistic individuals, potentially diverting resources and attention away from evidence-based support methods or other assistive communication devices that the autistic person controls themselves, not their parent or support worker, or somebody trying to sell you something like the telepathy tapes. We only see what they want you to see. We see the edited successes. Generally, when there's an incorrect result, it might have been ignored or fudged. This is why the scientific method requires peer review by independent editors and validation studies by other
Bro was doing it just to get laid there. I remember that episode, or that, was that just Ghostbusters 2? No, that's the first one. That's the first Ghostbusters, yeah.
Researchers. And we know that when this is done, that it's easy to test ESP. It doesn't work. It perpetuates the idea that autistic people are mystical or magical in ways that excuse real support that they need, like augmentative or alternative communication, or speech therapy, or other proven methods. It sensationalizes non-speaking autistic people as though they're locked into some paranormal realm, rather than recognizing that many non-speaking autistics can and do learn to communicate via sign language, letterboards that aren't being manipulated by someone else, or other technology-driven communication systems. There's some cool stuff out there right now. Section 4, a common thread anti...
All right, we're going to end this there. He goes more into this. You can watch the rest of this video at Autistic AF. It's a channel I'm subscribed to. And you can follow and keep up on his coverage of the telepathy tapes as well, which, you know, was what we looked into today. This is their website, the telepathy tapes. It has telepathy test and things like that. There's a lot here to sink your teeth into if you really want to believe. But as you start to look through these and pick up on some of the facilitated communication is great. The terminology, I mean, and it's not a great practice because it's nonsense, but it's, a lot to do with ideomotor movement and things like that. So that's what we're seeing with the telepathy tapes, if you have any questions about that. All right, so that was our Week in Weird, again, brought to you by Ryan's suggestion. So that's living proof that if you suggest something, it may end up right here on Live from the Hive, either in CrypticCorner or our Weekly Weird section. Either way, request your topic down below and we'll put it on the poll. How do you feel about the telepathy tapes? Am I being too hard on them? Was I being too hard on our spiritualist? You let me know. Do you think that there's psychic powers that exist? Do you think that, or do you think that's cold reading and facilitated communication? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I really do want to. I want to believe. I want to see proof. I want a James Randi, but don't go anywhere. All right, I'm wrapping up this weird segment today. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we'll see you next time. All right, Live from the Hive. Yeah, don't go. I think Bugbot still has the don't go, or I added the don't go. Yeah, don't go. I'm going to take an intermission here, potty break, but after we get back, we're actually going to talk about war elephants and maybe the most famous war elephant battle in history, but I'll be back in just a moment. In the meantime, why don't you go lick a toad?
We're talking about is licking toads to get high. Now, for years, various Indians of Central America have ingested the hallucinogenic secretions of toads, but that practice, according to the Drug Enforcement Administration, is against the law. At first glance, the toad does not look like a criminal.
Lick the toad, lick the toad, lick the toad, lick the toad. They call him Narco Toad. On the street, he's also known by his alias, Bufo Marinus. He and his cousin, Bufo Alvarius, are dangerous dudes. They deal in a mind-scrambling substance that defends against intruders. It all comes from a little gland behind the toad's head.
When bitten, the toad secretes a milky white fluid from its parotid glands that can poison its attacker, making them extremely ill and sometimes causing cardiac arrest.
Watch whatever crap comes on next. Coming up next.
Live from the Hive.
The organization took to their Facebook page last week to caution visitors not to lick the Sonoran desert toad. Don't lick it.
If you're wondering why anyone would want to do that, well, let's explain. Apparently, this particular species of toad secretes a psychedelic toxin that leads to hallucinations if ingested, but can also make humans really sick, leaving people incapacitated for up to 30 minutes. Well, the NPS didn't say if a particular incident prompted their public service announcement, but a recent report from the New York Times says there has been an increased demand for the poison recently. Perhaps that's the reason the Park Service felt it necessary to remind visitors not to lick toads.
Ew, gross, man. You okay?
Whoa, everything's so significant. Dude, you gotta try this.
Not even. It's got your germs on it.
Not this end.
Oh, I can see the air. And you know what else?
The hallucinogenic compound of bufotoxins sometimes do create a feeling of airiness or flying and things like that, and we believe that the witches flying around on broomsticks is probably due to the toad component of the witch's brew.
While the psychedelic bufotine has been detected in dozens of toad species, Bufo alvarius is the only amphibian known to biosynthesize its O-methyl homolog, 5-MeO-DMT. The toad's neck and limbs carry numerous protuberant glands marked by pores through which venom is excreted from subcutaneous lobules that contain the enzyme responsible for biosynthetic conversion of bufotine into 5-MeO-DMT, in addition to the production of other tryptamines and cardiotoxic steroids.
Ooh, check it out, man. The licking toad. Yeah, licking toad, man. Lick the toad.
The National Park Service says if you see a toad in the wild, keep your tongue in your mouth.
That substance is bitter and foul tasting. It blocks nerve transmission. It can affect the heart. It also can get you high.
Nothing. Here we go. Yeah.
Huh? These are crystallized secretions from a toad. A substance like this killed 4 people in Australia last year. In fact, possessing the secretion with intent to use it to get high is a federal offense.
In order to do any legal action against a person, we'd have to prove drug intent, that you, like conspiracy to lick a toad or conspiracy to sell a toad to lick or something of that sort.
Anything yet? Are you sure you're licking right?
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's supposed to pack an awesome buzz.
If you want to get one of these toads, forget it. The zoo tells us that Bufo marinus is restricted in California. The toad has been introduced in places like Florida, and it's done a lot of damage there. It's also a potentially dangerous toad, and certainly one you would never want to lick. Sylvia?
Never.
Ever? Ever?
No.
Okay, thanks.
All right, hello, you dirty toad lickers. Welcome to Bree's Bestiary, where I decide to talk about whatever animal I want and make you guys listen to me to wrap up my show every Saturday morning. Usually it's an animal that's impacted or had some kind of relationship with humans, whether we've developed folklore about it or developed myths and legends about them, or whether we've misinterpreted their behavior, their anatomy, their characteristics throughout history. We just want to jump in and kind of unwrap that. And today, this isn't the first time I've covered elephants on this segment, but today we're covering something very special about elephants because while many animals have been domesticated through the years, elephants aren't actually on that list. But they can be tamed. They can be they can be taught to do tricks. They can be taught to obey orders, and they can be taught to fight. And when elephants were taught to fight, it kind of ups the ante a little bit on the whole situation of human warfare, because elephants, if you're not aware of this, are the largest land animal in the world currently. And I think the largest land mammal that ever exists was an elephantine species, the Paleoloxodont, which actually is bigger than the Indrictothere, at least in weight. So yeah, elephants are monstrous, so they can really turn the table. But what happens when both sides have war elephants? We'll get to that. Let's go ahead and just watch a quick little 7-minute documentary on the history of war elephants. Oh, y'all can't hear. Hold on. Let me know.
The war elephant. For centuries, one of the most fearsome weapons on the battlefield, used by most cultures from ancient China in the east to ancient Carthage in the west. It was used effectively in many conflicts and battles. And today we'll be exploring their strengths, weaknesses, and their ancient history. The elephant is believed to have been first.
Yeah, this channel's. I guess I should introduce the channel. This is Wolf of Iberia. The small, like, history channel talking about war. So that's what we're dealing with here. They do some gaming too, it looks like, but they talk about historical stuff, so that's pretty cool. Anyway.
Named by the very ancient Indus River Valley civilization around the 2nd millennia BC, 4,000 years ago. Over the century,
oh my gosh, I would love to see you ride a war elephant into the Ark protest. Absolutely.
It's the tradition of catching and trading wild.
Or a camel. A camel would be pretty awesome too. If you ride a camel, though, I think you need a scimitar. You'd look fucking hot as hell on a camel with a scimitar, though, Sumami. Who are we kidding?
Elephants spread all over Southeast Asia, as far as ancient China. While taming an elephant was no easy feat, breeding elephants was much less efficient, as it took many years for an elephant to mature, and as such, humans focused on taming. Taming elephants became an art, and there were entire family lines dedicated to this activity. The elephant trainers were called mahouts.
To some extent,
elephants would have likely...
Elephants like enjoy play behavior and stuff. That's why they're able to be taught to do this. But like when the elephants would get worked up on the battlefield, a lot of this stuff went out the window. So efficacy of elephants is more of a shock trooper than actually an effective combatant, right? They scare soldiers because they're huge, and they scare other animals, namely horses, but also like dogs and stuff are scared of elephants. The real threat of war elephants was more the men sitting on top, whether they were pikemen or archers. They had an elevated position by which they could dispatch troops whose horses wouldn't come near them, whose soldiers couldn't reach them, and were terrified of these big lumbering beasts, right? So it's a shock trooper.
They've been used extensively in logistics, religion, and agricultural work before warfare. But by the 6th century BC...
Well, what I'm saying, Jason, yeah, if the elephant gets pissed off, it doesn't care who's friend or foe on the battlefield, right? An angry elephant, especially a tusker, on a battlefield is dangerous to friend and foe alike. Even other war elephants, nobody is safe.
There's ample evidence for the widespread use of these formidable creatures on the battlefields of India. This tradition spread much slower to the west, as the African forest elephants were smaller and more difficult to tame. Adding to this, the Mesopotamian elephant populations were extinct by 500 BC.
Sadly, there used to be North African elephants that the Egyptians had access to. There used to be elephants. There were elephants in the Middle East and near Gaza. There's the biggest. Again, we're going to talk about it in a minute here. But the Battle of Rafia was near Gaza. It had 2 different species of elephants because they were so common. By the time of the Battle of Rafia, they weren't common anymore. These were imported from Africa and India, respectively. But historically, in historic time, there have been elephants in the Middle East as far north as Syria, as far south as Arabia, and into Egypt and across North Africa. There was actually a subspecies called the North African elephant that's extinct now. Well, let this guy talk.
Indian epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, dating from the 5th to 4th centuries BC, elaborately depict elephant warfare. In India, the elephant was considered as an essential component of the military amongst the chariot, infantry, and cavalry. Chariots eventually fell into disuse, but the elephant remained as the warrior's mount of choice.
The good thing about having elephants, though, is that their ability to travel long distances across a variety of terrain. So there's a reason why like dogs and humans really got along, because we're really good at pursuit, long distance traveling, because we developed into pursuit predators, which is like we can't keep up with the fast prey, but we can be relentless until it's exhausted, and then take it out. Elephants also have this characteristic of being just naturally long distance travelers. So they work well with a marching human army, even better than horses in some situations, as long as they have the resources available at the destination, right? A big problem with European cultures is they didn't know how to take care of elephants. You'll look at some of the early zookeeping attempts from like London and New York and things like that, where they're trying to feed the elephants hay and meat and stuff. I mean, an elephant can eat hay to some extent, but elephants need a more variety in their diet, and they need an abundant diet. Elephants spend so much time of their day grazing.
The elephant corps of the Nanda Empire during Alexander's campaign are said to have had anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 war elephants. The Indian elephants are quite large, going up to 3.5 meters at the shoulder. These would be armored on their trunks and torso, their tusks equipped with blades or iron spikes. Some would carry a tower on their backs that could carry up to 4 skirmishers. With all their equipment, these large elephants...
The howdahs weren't ever actually made out of stone, but sometimes they were made to look like they're built from stone because it made the elephant seem more intimidating. Transpose the vowels. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there. I rode an elephant at the circus when I was a kid too. I'm very anti-circus, and if you're new here, you may not know, but I'm like an elephant advocate. In elephant slavery, elephants. I'm actually I am open to getting legal personhood recognized for elephants. There's a few species I'm open to that for, but elephants are one of them. And that they should have the sovereignty within their native habitats, which means, anywhere, let's say for the last 500 years that elephants roam, elephants can have certain legislative rights. So I think we can communicate with them. I think they're smart enough for us to teach about signage and things like that. I think that we can educate elephants to understand what the human restrictions are, like for... I don't know for sure, but anyway. I'm on a tangent now. Let's get back to the war elephants.
Were quite terrifying. As the Achaemenid Empire conquered the Indus River peoples during the late 6th to early 5th century BC, they started using war elephants in their armies. These animals were gifts from the Indian satraps that came accompanied with their mahouts, and as such were in quite small numbers. In 331 BC, at the Battle of Gaugamela, the Persians had 15 Indian-trained war elephants, and even though the Persians couldn't deploy the magnificent beasts, they made such an impression on the Macedonian troops that Alexander felt the need to sacrifice
Macedonian troops
to the god of fear the night before the battle. Alexander then took the elephants and incorporated them into his army. After Alexander's death, his successors continued this practice, where elephants then spread into Bactria, Egypt, and as far as Greece. In 280 BC, Pyrrhus of Epirus invaded Italy with 20 war elephants, using them against both the Romans and Carthaginians.
You ever wonder, like, when you look at something like this, because, again, elephants aren't horses, and I'm not calling horses dumb or anything, or saying, oh, horses are idiots. There are some ungulates that are super smart. Whales are ungulates, and they're, like, arguably smarter than elephants, at least in some capacity. Macedonian nut cookies. Macadamian troops. Macedonian nut cookies. Oh, you're mixing those up. I love that. I think that's what he was thinking too. It was like macadamian. Crows and ravens and parrots are another species that are at least to some extent, I think they're sentient and deserve certain rights. Now, to be clear, diapsids are our ancient enemies, right? I said, and elephants can as both being synapsids, mammals, can confirm that, right? We wouldn't be here if diapsids had their way. So crows and parrots, and they're just one step away from overthrowing us. So don't want to give them too much power, but no, but like definitely all the great apes deserve personhood, in my opinion. And we'd have to go through whales and see what we could sort out for them. There are definitely whales that deserve personhood, though.
Latter went on to use elephants extensively in their armies. At its height, Carthage had an impressive 300 war elephants on their stables. We usually don't think of the Romans as elephant users, however the Romans used elephants gained in the Second Punic War in their wars against Macedon, the Seleucids, the Celtiberians, the Carthaginians...
Macedon! Macedonia, friend. It's Macedonia.
And the Gauls. In the battles of Cynoscepha...
It's okay, I say things wrong too, all the time, but as long as you learn from it. But usually when someone says something wrong like that, it's because they've only ever read the word, which is, it happens.
Of 197 BC and Pydna of 168 BC. Between the Romans and Macedon, the role of the elephants has been quite severely underestimated. The honor of achieving victory is usually ascribed to the superiority of mobile Roman legions over an inert Macedonian phalanx. Yet it is
Macedonian. That's nuts.
Forgotten that none other than the elephants gained the Romans victory on the flanks on both battles. The Romans eventually stopped using elephants altogether, and by the late 1st century BC, they seem to have disappeared from the Roman armies completely. Roman and Carthaginian elephant corps were, for the most part, African forest elephants. These would be shorter than their Indian cousins, reaching a maximum of 2.4 meters at the shoulder.
Which is weird to think of African elephants being smaller than Indian elephants, because the biggest elephants in the world are African elephants, but those are African bush elephants. The forest elephant is a smaller subspecies, smaller than the Indian elephant anyway. As you saw by the size chart, those size charts are fairly accurate.
While still quite scary, the animals themselves would fear their larger brethren, rendering them unusable against the Indian elephants, and while they'd also wear armor, they'd often not carry towers. African savanna elephants were used in war, albeit to a very limited extent, since they're even more difficult to tame than their forest cousins.
African bush elephants, and yeah, they are very difficult to tame. They're like trying to make a king kneel.
Parthia saw limited use of elephants in its armies, but the Sassanids, who succeeded them, made extensive use of Indian war elephants. The war elephants would often be deployed in mass on the flanks. That's how the Romans did it. The successors and Indians would have used them spread out in the front lines, and over the ancient world, they were used to varying degrees of effectiveness. In China, for example, they didn't see much success. Several tactics were employed by all...
They're just shock troopers, really. That's what it comes down to.
All those who had to face elephants in battle, which rendered the deployment of this weapon situational, and it couldn't always be deployed. It is of note how the Romans beat the Carthaginian elephants at Zama. They opened corridors for the elephants to run through and hurl javelins at them. At the Battle of the Hydaspes River, Alexander had his troops do something quite similar. A common tactic was also to scare the elephants. They are afraid of fire and loud noises. And this was a great way to have them turn around and trample.
And this is one of the most horrible things that they did in war, in ancient war. African bush elephants is what he's saying. He said savanna elephant too, which is not a name for a subspecies. It's another name for the bush elephant.
Their own men. Elephants were a double-edged sword. One of the more gruesome anti-elephant measures was the war pig. Historical accounts of incendiary pigs or flaming pigs were recorded by the military writer Polyaenus and by Aelian. Both writers reported that the siege of Megara in 266 BC was broken when the Megarians doused some pigs with combustible pitch, crude oil, or resin, set them alight, and drove them towards the enemy's massed war elephants. The elephants bolted in terror from the flaming, squealing pigs, often killing great numbers of their own soldiers by trampling them to death. After the elephant fell in disuse, once
they figured out, hey, it's some fire will turn these big beasts back, it was over for the war elephant.
The Romans, it disappeared from the Western arsenal. However, it remained prominent in India throughout the ages. Well, did you enjoy this essay on the war elephant in ancient war?
Yeah, up until the fall of the Mughal Empire, when the British took over. But yeah, that was Wolf of Iberia covering that. Macedonia, love. It's Macedonia. But regarding the Battle of Raphia, through DNA analysis, Illinois researchers have disproved years of rumors and hearsay surrounding the ancient Battle of Raphia, the only known battle between Asian and African elephants. What everyone thinks about war elephants is wrong, said Alfred Roca, a professor of animal science and member of the Institute of Genomic Biology at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, who led the research published in the Journal of Heredity. After Alexander the Great's premature death, his vast kingdom was divided among his generals. Being generals, they spent the next several centuries fighting over the land in between, Roca said. The battle took place in 217 BC between Ptolemy IV and the king of Egypt and Antiochus III the Great, the king of Seleucid kingdom that reached from modern-day Turkey to Pakistan. And if I'm saying any of these wrong, you all correct me in the side chat, and I will practice the word again. According to historical records, Antiochus's ancestor traded vast areas of land for 500 Asian elephants, whereas Ptolemy established trading posts for war elephants in what is now Eritrea, a country within the northernmost population of elephants in East Africa. In the Battle of Raphia, Ptolemy had 73 African war elephants, and Antiochus had 102 Asian war elephants. Ptolemy had 73 war elephants, and Antiochus had 102 Asian war elephants. According to Polybius, a Greek historian who described the battle at least 70 years later, a few of Ptolemy's elephants ventured too close with those of the enemy, and now the men in the towers on the backs of the beast made a gallant fight of it. striking with their pikes at close quarters and wounding each other, while the elephants themselves fought still better, putting forth their whole strength and meeting forehead against forehead, said Polybius in the Histories. Ptolemy's elephants, however, declined the combat, as is the habit of African elephants, for unable to stand the smell and the trumpeting of the Asian elephants, terrified, I suppose, also by the great size and strength, they at once turn tail and take to flight before they get near them. Over the years, there has been a lot of speculation about Polybius's account. Until well into the 19th century, the ancient accounts were taken as fact by all modern natural historians and scientists, and that is why Asian elephants were given the name Elephas maximus by Neil Benjamin, an Illinois veterinary student who studied elephant taxonomy and ancient literature with Roca. After the scramble for Africa by European nations, more specimens became available, and it became clearer that African elephants were mostly larger than Asian elephants. At this point, speculation began about why the African elephants in the Polybius account might have been smaller. One scientist, Pauli's Duraniagala, even suggested that they might even have been a extinct smaller subspecies. In 1948, Sir William Gowers reasoned that Ptolemy must have fought with forest elephants that fled from the larger Asian elephants, as Polybius described. Since then, the idea has been cited and recited in many papers. Until now, the main question remained: did Ptolemy employ African savanna elephants, Loxodonta africana, or African forest elephants, Loxodonta cyclotis, in the Battle of Raphia? Using 3 different markers, we established that the Eritrean elephants are actually savanna elephants. Okay, so they use the term savanna elephants here too. Maybe I was wrong. I can be wrong all the time. Said Adam Brandt, a doctoral candidate in Roca's laboratory and first author of the paper, that their DNA was very similar to neighboring populations of East African savanna elephants, but was very low with very low genetic diversity, which was expected for such a small isolated population. Markers also revealed that the Eritrean elephants have no genetic ties with forest or Asian elephants, as other authors have suggested. For mitochondrial DNA, the genetic information is passed from mother to offspring and is not transmitted by males. Female elephants stay with their natal herd while the males disperse to mate with different populations. Thus, the mtDNA would be a telltale sign of whether there had been forest elephants or Asian elephants in the Eritrean population at one time. Excuse me. In some sense, mtDNA is the ideal marker because it not only tells you what's there now, but it's an indication of what had been there in the past, because it doesn't really get replaced even when the species changes. Roca said the most convincing evidence is the lack of mtDNA from forest elephants in Eritrea. Roca and Brandt hope their findings will aid excuse me, I take a drink. There we go. Where was I? hope they're finding will aid in conservation efforts. We have confirmed that this population is isolated and may be inbred, Brandt said. This population will require habitat restoration and preservation to minimize the possibility of human conflict. That's really the issue, not having a place to go. Brandt said that the future conservation efforts could even establish a connecting habitat between the Eritrean population and their closest relatives, the East African savanna elephant, to provide an influx of genetic diversity. But he admits that's a pretty lofty ambition. Still, there's hope. From what I read, the Eritrean government is pretty committed to conservation, Roca said. They are planning to establish a large number of wildlife conservation areas, and one of the things at the top of their list is the elephants. The paper, The Elephant of Gash Barka, Eritrea, Nuclear and Mitochondrial Genetic Patterns, was published in the Journal of Heredity and is available online. So, yeah. Where are we going to watch this?
No less important events unfolded in the Middle East. For supremacy in the region began an armed struggle between Egypt and the Seleucid state. This power,
that's just someone reading what I just read. Okay. But, anyway. So that's been the bestiary for today. Talking about some war elephants and how they were utilized and some of their history and some of the folklore, like the fact that they were some extinct species, or there was for a while people claimed that they may have been North African elephants, which are extinct, but more recently extinct, and were around in ancient Egypt and were depicted in some ancient art, but I don't know how much DNA we have from them left, but I digress. I don't think they were ever used for war purposes. Maybe they were. Maybe they got admixed into early conquest species. The African elephants have always been kind of a harder species to tame. I'm not saying it's impossible that they could to tame them for warfare, but they weren't ever used to the extent that Asian elephants were. They were again just shock troops for the most part on both accounts. But the Indian elephants with the howdah on the back and archers sitting up there is a pretty deadly force, right? That's or pikemen or whatever up high, able to take swipes or take shots out of reach of the enemy soldiers is a great advantage on a moving platform, no less. So, I mean, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about the Battle of Raphia and the two species of elephants that were used and maybe what they were? I feel like it'd be hard to pike someone from the back of an elephant. Oh, pikes have a long handle. You have to have, I guess they'd be like specialized spears and things that you would use. They'd have to be specialized to have a long reach. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for sticking with me. Please remember to be kind. Take care, and we will see you next time. Whew. All right, folks, that's the show. It's the first time we've gone for 3 hours in a while. I guess I'm just feeling better. No, usually I've been feeling kind of icky in the mornings. Feeling better. What a relief. Yeah, thank you for sticking around, everybody. Been kind of a up and down show. Keep rising and falling. But the show we had today, we covered Redcaps of Scotland, and actually looked at the castle that the famous Robin Redcap was supposed to haunt. Then we visited the Telepathy tapes and went to their website and watched their trailer, watched a positive review, watched a negative review, And you can make your decision on that. We also sort of made plans with Ryan, potentially Maya, to actually watch a couple episodes of the telepathy tapes. So that might be a thing to look forward to. We'll see what happens. When we wrap things up by learning about war elephants, how they were used, and specifically I wanted to discuss the Battle of Raphia and the mystery pachyderms that participated in the conflict. So it's been a fun show. It's been such a super fun show. If I missed anything about any of these topics that you think I should have picked up on, you put that down in the comments down below, and I'll try to amend that. But yeah, everybody else, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week for this the same bat time, same bat channel, all that good stuff. Remember to be kind. Maybe I should say the same B time, same B channel, same Bree time, same Bree channel. Anyway, whatever we're gonna say there. Remember to be kind and take care, and we'll see you next time.
This shit, bro. Oh, hell no. No. Man. Hey, bro. Hey, bro, fuck all that. Hey, Prime, fuck all that shit, bro. Man, fuck all that. Hey, Prime. Hey, you got me, fool. You got me, right? Bro, what's up, bro? Hey. What the fuck? Yeah, hug me. What the fuck? Hug me. I want you to hug me. Hey, what? What's up? Man, what the fuck that? Hold on, bro. I think he got a knife. Not Prime. Shit. Shit.
With all the noise, pseudoscience, and political rhetoric clogging the airwaves about transgender people, it can be difficult to understand what's really happening and what's really true. Good news, everyone! Welcome to The Transpositions, your compass in the rugged landscape of transgender issues. Here, we strive to be the beacon of authenticity, providing a platform that amplifies the voices and experiences of the transgender community. From breaking news to in-depth features to breaking down the real science, we are committed to fostering understanding, empathy, and empowerment for all individuals across the gender spectrum. Join us as we navigate the complexities, celebrate the triumphs, and advocate for the rights of transgender people worldwide. Together, we can redefine boundaries, challenge stereotypes, and champion inclusivity. Subscribe today. The link is in the description.